Wolverine is in Canada, and he meets these, like, kind of native Eskimo-style people, and, like, he's immediately better at fishing than they are, and I'm like, come on! They've been doing this for generations! They've been passing it down to their children's children's children. Like, this short little Canadian guy shows up, and all of a sudden he's, like, way better than them at this. And one of them, like, spoiler for this 30-year-old cartoon, but one of them eventually is like, I'm going to lead him into a trap with Sabretooth because he's making me look like a fool. And I'm like, I'm on that guy's side. Fuck this white savior. Like, Sabretooth, get him. Get him.
Hello and welcome to Comic Dissection, the comic book club podcast where we read comics and talk about them through a usually kind of leftist, kind of intersectionalist, kind of like...
Kind of, yeah.
Kind of. Only sort of, kind of, sort of.
Here's the thing, I don't know. Being the only leftist comic book podcast in the whole world, I don't even know... I don't know how intersectional leftist lens we are compared to any other comic book podcast. We might be the one. Like, you know how Even More News always talks about how they're the only news podcast?
Yeah.
I'd like to pretend we are the only...
We're definitely the only leftist intersectional comic book club podcast that I am aware of.
Well, in the words of Childish Gambino, all I know is we're the best one.
Yeah,
I don't know
definitely.
if we're the only one, but all I know is we're the best one.
So that voice is Reno.
Hi.
And I am Cecilia Rose, and today we are finishing up Heaven Official's Blessing, chapters 86 through 101, and all that was on Billy before it shut down.
Possibly. So. We apparently have not gone back to check.
Well, I haven't. I don't even think the app still exists anymore, to be honest.
have it. I mean, it's a little symbol on my phone.
No, it's still...
I wasn't going to delete it until this episode was done, just to be safe.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it says unable to connect to the server. Please retry.
The heart doth break.
The heart does break, though. That's so sad.
Yes. The link will be to a no longer active
Look, the internet
spot.
exists. I know y'all know where to find stuff.
And
I
if
believe
not,
in
you honest to God could send an email to Comic Dissection and
someone may have
something might have happened.
Someone may have screenshot some stuff and may have some stuff that they can maybe send to you.
We're like Nicolas Cage in that God of War movie. We aren't really committing the crimes. We're just facilitating conversations between criminals.
Hey, is that a crime?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I'm afraid it is. They've thought of that.
Damn.
Yeah,
Well, that's why you always put a maybe in front of a thing.
Maybe, possibly,
sort of, not legally actionable.
This is actually the real reason ACAB is because they thought of that. Fuck them.
Yes, I completely agree.
Oh.
So we open up on chapter 86 with Shishishuan being very upset that the people that they've fallen into have scratched her face. How dare you?
Yeah.
And
first of all, I am a big fan of vain people who don't like their faces getting fucked with. It is a common trope, and I'm here for it. I've got 3 or 4 pieces of Vega paraphernalia, who is the famous Street Fighter character who is I'm so pretty, don't touch my face. Handsome fighters never lose battles. Like, that's his whole gimmick. Yeah. So I'm here for it. I'm just saying. Creepy smart guys and vain, extremely vain people. Those are my go-to moves.
Hey. Shishishuan's being all vain is apparently not a turn off for Reno. He's still on board.
I gotta type. Me and Cecilia, if I've learned nothing else from us doing this podcast together, it's that we both have different toxic traits that we are, for some reason, forgiving of.
Oh, yeah. Oh. You give me someone with just the right level of, like, sarcasm and, like, overall...
And she'll start a podcast with him. Also
true. But Shishuan literally blows these people sky high.
Yeah,
with a nice
there's an
little
amazing
wind blast.
tornado scene where, these strangely masked jungle.
They got some nice
people.
legs, though. I mean,
They do not skip leg day. This
No.
crowd.
they got some nice legs.
Yeah.
So she blew them all away, and then tries to make sure that Shilian agrees with them that they deserved it because
It's important.
it's important.
If you've ever done something and then looked over to your friend like,
They deserve
that was
it,
right? And then if you have a good friend, they'll be like, yeah, they deserve it.
Shilian is just like, ugh. But in Shishuan's defense, I feel like Shilian has a interesting perspective on what is acceptable amounts of pain to go through, and maybe he shouldn't expect other people to be on board with him there.
Yeah, very, very much like my torture is my torture. You shouldn't have to deal with that.
Yeah,
that shouldn't
yeah.
be your torture. 86 we're opening
Yeah.
with. We're doing 86 to 101, which is finishing up the show.
They end up back underground looking for another little plate that they can use to try to get back to Hao Sheng's Paradise Manor. And Shishuan's mentioning that the Crimson Rain Salt Flower has a lot of tricks, and he's using he must have a lot of spiritual power to be doing this stuff.
He's tricksy, this one.
Well, and he's strong, I think, is more of the
Yes.
takeaway here.
Yeah, he is. He is. I dare say too strong. Like
He might be a little OP.
he's a little OP. Like at no point was I even slightly worried about her.
And you shouldn't be. Like, I think that's one of the sexier things about him.
Oh,
though.
for me, it's that's something I need for my drama and my theater. Like, I remember when we were reading He-Man and you were like, yeah, I know He-Man's going to beat Skeletor. There's no drama here. I'm at no point worried about Prince Adam, if he's going to be okay. Like, not even a little bit. And that's kind of where I am about our one-eyed, better than the gods fellow.
But I do think it's funny because Shishuan is describing these like nefarious intentions and him being like scheming and stuff, and Shilian's like, I just think he's kind of playful.
Yeah.
So they end up at. They actually don't explain how they end up here.
Well, I mean, they're just trying to find a way back, and down one hallway, they smell blood, and they run down said hallway.
Well, in the book, they do have to roll for another plate on another plate, and then they end up in this hallway with the smell of blood.
Gotcha. This time it was just a hallway off from the hallway they were walking down.
Yeah. So, very conveniently,
You could even say that this person was supposed to be found at this juncture, like, because if he was not, he wouldn't have been, right?
Yeah.
Like, you have someone this powerful. If you find this person, it's because they wanted you to, or at least were
look at
indifferent,
you!
or at the very least, they were indifferent to whether you did or not.
So very conveniently, they find the Earth Master at the end of this hallway, Ming Shong, who still acts like they don't know Shishuan.
It's you.
And Ming Shishuan's like, I don't know him.
Ouch.
Shishuan's like, you're my best friend. I'm your best friend. Of course you know me. I still ship them. Like I adore these two and the way that they interact with each other.
Yeah.
And this is where Shilian is introduced to Ming Shong, and they were at the half moon.
I have. No.
They were at the half moon pass, but they apparently Shishuan likes to cross dress all of her friends. So if you're around them long enough, you'll end up gendered swapped.
I think Cecilia would like a world where her friendships were all strong enough that she could make them cross dress at will.
I could twist arms into gender swapping.
You look so good in this.
So that black robed woman with Lord Earthmaster seems Lord Windmaster is quite passionate about having others transform into their female form with him. But After a little bit of blood coughing.
Yeah, Earthmaster's coughing up blood. This is no cross-dressing laughing matter.
They establish that that Ming Shang is the one who sent the dragon.
Yeah.
And so he is the one that they are looking for.
To those who don't recall, the whole reason they are here in the ghost version of Las Vegas is because they are looking for the
Sin
person.
City, baby.
Yeah, and then some. Because they're looking for the person who sent out this huge spiritual dragon as like a cry for help. Mm-hmm. And they have just found said person.
And Shisha Xuan is like pointing out that Ming Shang's usually pretty good at fighting.
Yeah,
and
going
how
into
did
episode
Hao Shang,
87.
Yes, how did Hao Shang end up beating him? And Shilian is like, the way they talk to each other, they're really great friends. I don't think Shilian knows how friends talk to each other.
I will say this, though, like, that weird, it's just a little panel, but it kind of warmed my heart because I was like, I've been around friends of mine, and I've just been quietly sitting, I know this is hard to imagine me being quiet, but I've been quietly sitting in the background and watching them interact and being like, aw, my friends are such good friends. Look at them go. Aw.
Like, it is sweet.
It warms the heart. Yeah.
So, unconscious. I think. So me and Sean passed out at some point.
Me and Sean. Yeah, they literally have an arrow just pointing that says unconscious. That is one of the stranger word or art choices that they do on
Stage
Heaven
directions.
Officials Blessing, where they're just like, just have an arrow pointed to someone describing that person's currently moving, dodging, unconscious, surprised, like, yeah.
Yeah, there are quite a few stage directions.
Yeah.
Well, they come across another jade plate, and Shilian rolls the dice because Shisha Xuan has Ming Shang on his back, so...
Yeah.
He rolls the dice, and then he steps through the door and falls. He falls through the bottom, because apparently the door just opens to nothing. And I wrote down, I don't know how, but falling into Hao Sheng's arms was planned. I don't know how he did it, but Crimson Rain Saltflower did it on purpose.
Just need to make a hole behind the door. Everything else will take care of itself.
Because he falls right into Hao Sheng's arms.
He rolled the dice. And, like, if there's one thing, one thing our boy is good at controlling, it's those dice. So,
Yep.
Yeah, he made sure it came up, whatever it needed to come up for old door or whatever.
Yeah. Whatever it needed to come up to.
But then you've got
bride carrying
San Leong with the exclamation point. Like, I'm so surprised to have caught you here.
I wasn't expecting you to be through this door.
The only thing that would have made it more corny is if he'd been like, "Oh, this is strange for you to drop in."
nice finding you here.
Yeah, right.
I love this panel with his pretty face.
Yes, we get one of those now famous from Heaven Officials Blessing 3-panel stare-offs, where two people are just kind of looking at each other.
And apparently Shisha Xuan didn't hear Shilian say don't come through the door because he sees feet and then he grabs and rolls Hao Shang so that Hao Shang won't fall, or so that Shisha Xuan won't fall on Hao Shang too.
Yeah.
And I wrote down here because you get this nice little panel and then it turns out that he had rolled over and now he's sort of like sitting on Hao Shang in a very provocative manner. And Hao Shang is grabbing his leg, too, in a very also provocative manner. But
Coincidence, I'm sure.
Yeah, I wrote down, did we fall and somehow end up in a shoujo romance manga? Because these unlikely positions, they're wonderful.
It does not seem like a position you would ever end up in.
Accidentally.
No. Yeah.
No.
But
just like when dudes fall and, like, they just happen to be up, like, the upshots, the skirts and stuff. Like, just
oh, yeah.
How did you do that?
Yeah, this is not... Think of anime and manga and the effort that they have to go through.
To contrive.
For the main character, who is typically not a pervert, to get in some sort of situation where he just happens to be looking up a girl's dress and the girl beats the shit out of him. Because of just a series of wild misunderstandings.
Wacky, totally odd.
Yeah. This is the man God love version of that.
Look, it's hot though. They're both fully clothed. I will give them that. They got that on over the mangas. There's no upshots of skirts.
I mean, you say they got it over it, like, that's better. I mean...
It's less violating.
I mean... Here's the thing. It feels like... From the way they're reacting, it feels very similar.
Here's the thing. This is gay panic Chilean, though.
Yeah.
Like, this is... I wrote that down. Gay panic Chilean, gay panic. That is... Because he knows... I mean, hell, he got flustered when Hao Shang took a bite out of the bun he had eaten.
Yeah.
Like, my poor boy has
it's also
very
weird
low
after
threshold.
He seemed less weirded out when they shared a bed together at the shrine than bun sharing. Like, and some of this may be cultural things I don't understand. Like, it may be very normal to sleep with the priest at the shrine that you're staying at night. I do not know, but...
Well, I think some of that is just, like, he's been at war. Like, he's been a soldier. He's had to bunk with probably other men.
Yeah.
But
not in the Roman way.
But finding himself sitting on someone's lap. And I don't think he fell for Song Long immediately, but I do think when he fell real hard.
Yeah.
And he fell real fast.
Yeah.
And so now it puts all of these extra emphases on, like,
these seemingly innocent little thingamabobbers.
As it does anytime you have a romantic situation going on, you put a lot more emphasis on those little tiny hand holding and all the small little things. But they are not alone in this room that they fell into.
Yeah, bandage face McGee's here.
Ling Ying is here.
Ling Ying, who we have not seen in a while, although it was said that he would be taken care of, and that seems to remain true.
Hao Shang keeps his promise.
Yeah, Hao Shang did not, like... I could see Hao Shang just, like, as soon as he's out of sight, just forgetting all about this kid.
This boy does not exist anymore.
Yeah, right? You were only a means to
flirting.
Some awkward blushing scenes. You have no free will of your own. You are a means to an end.
But Shisha Xuan's like, why are you still being so polite? Like,
you're the steam grate under Marilyn Monroe's dress. You were just a means to an end here.
Ouch, Lang Ying. That
but no,
hurt.
I'm saying he wasn't. But I'm saying that I could.
You could see Hao Shang.
If we had never seen that kid again, it would not have surprised me. That is what I'm saying.
Now, Shisha Xuan points out that Hao Shang is the one who's behind Ming Shang ending up here.
Yeah.
Hao Shang is like, yeah, but he was also, like, being a double-crossing traitor spy, technically. And, like, he was down here working for me, supposedly, but also still up there. He was doing this for 10 years. So, for a decade, there's a lot of spying and general treachery happening.
Right.
So, Shilian is like, can you not make a big deal about this time?
I mean, you tortured him for a bit. Can we not just call this one even?
Yeah, are we not? And Hao Shang, in a rare moment of not bending to Shilian's whims, is like, there are things that it's better if you don't involve yourself with.
Yeah, like, you got a little spicy there. Episode 88, somebody's growing a backbone all of a sudden.
So, Shisha Xuan is like, well, I'm going to make a whirlwind and get us out of here. Oh. And Hao Shang is like, Also, just to point out, I hate that we don't get to this part, but Hao Shang being like, don't interfere.
Yeah.
There is more to that story. He is not just being stubborn with Shilian. Okay. There's a reason behind his thing. His
need to keep someone tortured in his basement. It's always awkward when you find your friend's torture basement and you're like, I think we should let the people out of the torture basement. And then your friend's like, bro, you don't know what they did. Let me keep them in my torture basement.
Look, this is why there are locks on doors. And sometimes you don't want to go in the locked doors.
Maybe if you have a torture basement, don't give a friend free roam of your house. Maybe that's good advice.
So... Unfortunately for Shisha Xuan, though, Hao Shang also has a very beautiful fan.
Well, I mean, the opportunity to draw him with a fan. The artist wasn't going to say no.
No, how could you? So, I wrote down here, is there a skill that Hao Shang does not have?
Yeah.
And I did write down, yes, lying. The bitch cannot lie. So that is the only skill Hao Shang doesn't have, because he is also very good with the fan and wind powers.
Which seems a little unfair. Like, come on. Like, you're going to be better at wind godding than a wind god? Like, come on! Like, it's too much. It's too much. I saw, this is, I don't know if you all are aware of this, and this is something we might cover for a Patreon episode, but they are releasing new episodes of the 90s X-Men cartoon.
Ooh!
Yeah. In preparation, I've been going back and rewatching the original X-Men 90s cartoon. Two things I want to tell you. First of all, that animation was done by a studio on the corner of a garbage scow by a blind 80-year-old man. I did not remember how bad like the animation was.
I was taking a drink and I almost sprayed watermelon, green tea everywhere.
My apologies. I don't know my own power. I too have a fan, Cecilia. Yeah, so I'm rewatching it, and there's an episode where, like, Wolverine is in Canada, and he meets these, like, kind of native Eskimo-style people, and, like, he's immediately better at fishing than they are, and I'm like, come on! They've been doing this for generations! They've been passing it down to their children's children's children. Like, this short little Canadian guy shows up, and all of a sudden he's, like, way better than them at this. And one of them, like, spoiler for this 30-year-old cartoon, but one of them eventually is like, I'm going to lead him into a trap with Sabretooth because he's making me look like a fool. And I'm like, I'm on that guy's side. Fuck this white savior. Like, Sabretooth, get him. Get him.
Here's the thing. I was totally... You talked about rewatching the old one, and I'm like, did the jokes age badly? I don't even want to contemplate how
Sometimes they didn't, though. Sometimes some of the stuff is still, like... Because X-Men was, to use the parlance of the right, was a woke comic even way back when, like a lot of it you watch and you're like, that is very good. I want children to see that message today. That's good stuff. But yeah, it was still a cartoon from the 90s, and there were still things like this weird like Canadian teaching the Eskimos how to fish episode. But yeah, this gave me similar vibes, not in a white savior way, obviously, but in a like, you don't get to win harder than the wind god. Like, I'm sorry, he should be better than that at you.
Well, I guess in Hao Shang's defense, he has been using spiritual power longer than
in his defense,
Shishuan.
have you seen this fan?
Yeah, in his defense, he's hotter, so he can do what he wants.
Again, hotter. In parentheses, because I seriously, if you took all these people, let all their hair down, and put them in a lineup, I would not be able to tell you who was who. Oh, and remove the eye patches, because that's kind of a giveaway.
Yeah. I do understand that impulse, because I still cannot tell a Transformer from one another.
Understood, yes.
So,
although these people could do with some Decepticon and Autobot symbols. That might help me a little. Like, okay, this dude's definitely a bad guy, because he's got a little purple chest plate, and this guy's a good guy, because he's got a little red chest plate. I'm just saying. Heaven officials blessing if you're listening for if you want to reopen this story, that might be a thing.
Do not give them chest plates. They are fine. They are all very fine.
Then give them tattoos, something, just something I can tell them apart by.
All right, so Sheila Ann in the middle of this fight asks if Shishuan can stop. And then there's a giant stab down, and...
we get some great onomatopoeias, some whooshes, and some rumbles.
Yep,
yeah.
Because Prince Lang Quan Shi has shown up with his giant sword that's bigger than his body.
Yeah, think Cloud from Final Fantasy VII. He is, he's bringing...
poked a hole in the roof.
He's bringing the big sword, and, I don't know, still hot-headed as he was 10 episodes ago. He not cooled down in those 10 episodes.
Prince Lang Quan Shi was entirely too rash to bring on this trip at all. Hao Shang is going to kill him. Like, that was, yeah. Quan Shi, just in time.
Yes.
Shishuan's happy to see him, which makes exactly one person in this room when we start episode 89.
Yes, in 89, I also was happy to see him because I thought we were going to get a very cool sword fight amongst equals. Spoilers, we are not getting a very cool sword fight amongst equals.
Yep.
Once again, I made the mistake of like, all right, this guy's a sword wielder. He's going to be a good sword wielder. No, he's getting ready to get clowned.
He really is,
Which is a shame, because
Yiming is so pretty.
when you give two people such cool swords and you have them charging each other, I really was hoping for some Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, like, badass fightery, but no,
So,
it's a route. It's a
Xi
one-way.
Lian is aware that Quan Shi will not survive this, and so we get a moment where it looks like they're gonna have their badass fight,
I
and look
know.
at the little smirk. He's just
Yeah.
Quan Shi is coming in with like
Whoosh.
his whole he's putting his whole body into this.
Put some bass into his voice and his swing.
And Hao Shang is just like, bitch, you think, with a smile on his face. But then there's an interruption, and Xi Lian is like, raise the winds, we need to get out of here. And
Calls for a strategic withdrawal. We're not going to call it a retreat, a strategic
they run
withdrawal.
away. They run away because Hao Shang would have beat Quan Shi's little bitch
He
ass.
somehow would have killed all three of them.
Well, he would not have hurt Xi Lian.
I mean, if it can't, like, if it was a fight, like he is more powerful than the three of them combined.
I don't think he would. I think Xi Lian is stronger than Hao Shang.
That I need to see. I need to see that. That's a fight I want to see. I never will, but that's a fight I want to see.
So it's sad that they don't establish it here. So the Shi Shishuan pulls them all up, and they're out of the armory now.
Yeah.
And when they look down, the armory is set ablaze,
Yeah.
and Hao Shang is just standing in the middle of the fire
they
like
drop
a
a little
puppy dog.
Well, he looked mad. He don't look happy.
So,
if you can't hurt him, at least you can mess up his. Well,
it's very sad that they don't establish it in this, but in the book and in the anime, they do establish that, and they probably don't establish it because this set doesn't exist for very long.
Gotcha.
But in the book and the anime, Hao Shang actually gifts the whole armory to Xi Lian. Like,
Aw.
he gave him, and because Xi Lian is such a sword otaku,
Yeah.
like, he is in love with this armory. Like, all of the swords, all of the stuff in it, like, he is such a little, like, hyper fixated on weapons in character.
Look, weapons are cool.
So the armory was for that. Like, he gave that armory to Xi Lian, and it gets destroyed 2 chapters later.
Oh.
And, yeah. And look at that little pal.
He
My poor
mad.
little baby. He's so upset.
No.
And, Shi Shishuan realizes that Xi Lian is bleeding.
Now we're on a magic carpet ride.
Yeah,
over
somehow.
the moon.
We're in the clouds.
I'm happy for it. Like
Yeah.
it's a nice scene. You get that great shadows across the moon silhouette scene. That's all. I'm always a fan.
And we find out here that Xi Lian is the one who interrupted the sword fight. And he points out that he is a swordsman after all. Like, that is...
Yeah.
He is a martial god of... As Shi Shishuan says, the flower-crowned martial god. A sword in one hand and a flower in the other. People seem to forget.
And a bit of garbage in his bag.
Yeah.
Well, that's his fault. He's
No,
done too much
no.
weird stuff.
No, he didn't start as a scrap god.
Well, no, I know that, but what I mean is, like, at this juncture, it's not surprising that people forget you're a martial god because you're mostly about picking up garbage and being super nice to people and awkward. Like, your awkwardness and your trash pickup has really come to the forefront in your pantheon. It's like the Greek gods. Like, a lot of the Greek gods are gods of all sorts of things, but, like, when you think Aphrodite, you only think love. When you think Ares, you only think war. When you think Athena, you only think wisdom. But, like, they've all got multiple pantheons. But, you know, some kind of take a back seat. And you almost forget the god is in part of that until, you know,
And
they have
it
to whip
comes
it
up.
out and show somebody.
Yeah, it's true. So, Shi Shishuan points out that they had forgotten that he was a sword god after his ascension. Like, he is a martial god. He is incredibly powerful and incredibly strong.
But put some respect on my name.
I wrote down here, though, Xi Lian's got injured again. Boy is always bleeding.
That always in the arm, too. Like, it's a lot of arm injuries. It's almost like, I know you don't know Star Wars, but there's a running joke that George Lucas just loves cutting people's arms off. Because it just keeps happening in the Star Wars series.
And Shi Shishuan notes that Ling Quanxi is being very quiet, and he would have been killed by the Crimson Rain Salt Flower if Xi Lian hadn't stepped in. But Shi Shixuan doesn't know that Quan Chi is not thinking about the fact that he almost died, but is instead focused on the fact that he recognizes that sword move that Shi Lian did to separate them.
Mm-hmm.
And
that
it
takes
makes
us
him
to
think,
90.
It does. It makes him think of the Grand Tutor.
Who is his best tutor that taught him the best things.
Mm-hmm. So... we're back at the Heavenly Capital, and Ming Shang needs to be looked at, and someone
plop him on the floor.
Yeah.
I thought that was so funny. I was just like, yeah, leave him on the floor. We'll figure it. We'll get him some help.
Yeah, yep.
I mean, that floor's got to be like cold black marble. Like, it does not. That's not where you put hurt people.
They pick him up here in a minute.
They do, but there shouldn't be a minute where he's laying on the marble floor. I don't care if he's a god. It's just not a nice way to treat someone who's hurt. I know you guys have beds. They're probably made of, like, silk feathers from some bird that's only in your paradise kingdom. Like, get this guy a bed.
It was unacceptable. Shi Shixuan might have been tired of holding him, but he could have floated him down on a cloud.
Right.
Well, maybe that's what Ming Shang gets for denying their friendship.
I once again think that the prison time payment enough. Yeah.
Well, that's his payment for Hao Sheng, not his payment for Shi Shixuan.
It could be 2 payments.
You don't get to pay one bill and say, I paid you both.
Well, no, it's like when I pay off my credit card, I'm technically also paying off the thing that I bought with that credit card. I'm sorry. When they sent him to the floor, I lulled because I was like, really? You're not going to get this dude to bed? He's had a rough time of it.
Shi Shixuan notices that Quan Chi's acting weird and,
I'll alert the media. The dude acts weird 80% of this comic. Yeah.
But he calls Shi Lian the Grand Tutor.
Now we're going to get the info what that's about.
Yep. So Lord Tahua is the Crown Prince of Yungen. The Grand Tutor would have been the tutor from that same era, which would have been the Grand Tutor Fengshen, one of the twin demonic priests.
One of the person responsible for all this murdering this guy's mad about.
Yep. That would mean Prince Shi Lian is in fact the Grand Tutor Fengshen, the demonic destroyer of the kingdom.
Cue mic drops.
Yep.
Like, you get a shot of, like, the gathering god dignitaries who happen to be hanging out here and also don't want to give a sick guy a bed. And their facial expressions...
This is a sticking point with Reno.
It went from funny to, like, it started to bother me, and the longer it went on, the more it bothered me. Because we were literally stepping over this guy to talk about this situation. And I'm like, you get him out first. Like, 2 of you gawkers, you looky-loos, who are just standing there with their mouths dropped.
Then you missed out on the hot goss. How can you...
The expression on all of these crowds is like, ooh, dish.
Yeah. Tell us the story.
Yes.
So, yeah, you get they're wondering why Shi Lian why he would become the tutor of Yungen, because Yungen destroyed Shan Li.
Right.
And Quan Chi is like, I buried you myself, so how are you still here? And he asks why Shi Lian did it, because Shi Lian never gave reason. When he was Fengshen and was buried, he never explained what happened and who he was.
Well, he did say. He said it was because he couldn't stand seeing them in this high position that they had obtained, but that reeked of bullshit. So,
well, I think mainly because Shi Lian never acknowledged the fact that he was the Prince of Xianli when he was being the Grand Tutor, Quan Chi couldn't understand why Shi Lian felt the desire or need to murder his family.
Well, yeah, and Quan Chi also, I mean, you feel betrayed by this facade that's been put on. Although, at this point, you should not be surprised. Gods, ghosts, spirits, demons, they all have one thing in common. They like LARPing. They like roleplay. They like to change sexes, appearances, like outfits.
Everything is sort of an at the whim type of deal.
It really is, yeah.
So, Shi Shixuan is like, if he was really Feng Shen, wouldn't you have recognized him before now?
And he's like, no, of course not. Everyone looks the same in this world. I'm sorry, I'll stop.
Rude.
I kid because I love.
And Pei Ming is over here ready to establish that even he knows that Feng Shen was mysterious and aloof, and he wore a mask and never showed his face.
Now, is this the Emperor? I forgot. Who is this guy?
Pei Ming is the one who... Pei Su. He is Pei Su's relative who slept with the girl who was kidnapping all the...
Oh, this is the Heartbreaker, the Casanova, the lover boy.
Yeah, this is Lover Boy.
Yeah. I love Lover Boy. How you doing, Lover Boy?
Lover Boy has the red eyes. That's how you can tell Lover Boy from the other characters.
Okay, gotcha.
So yeah, Pei Ming's over here like, he wore a mask, he hid his face, so the fact that Quan Chi didn't recognize him is understandable. But now the Emperor comes in. And now we finally get your poor boy on a bed.
Let's take care of the Earthmaster first. Thank you, Emperor. This is why you're in charge. You're making the tough calls.
Yeah, the Emperor's like, hey, the dead body in the floor. Let's remove that.
For the record, not dead. Just
not dead.
Hurt, injured.
Yeah, Ming Shang just needs to go to the doctor.
Speak. What is it this time? Honestly, the Emperor sounds like he's dealing with like 2 to 3-year-olds that just keep squabbling. Like, oh my God, what is it this time?
What now? It's been a nightmare.
Did she take your fire truck? Just give her back the fire truck. You can play. You weren't even playing with the fire truck until you noticed she wanted the fire truck. The Emperor's done with this shit.
Xi came back up to the heavens, and it has been nothing but drama for the entire like 2 months that he's been back.
It was so good while you were gone. The 8 times you were gone, every time you got kicked out, I was like, finally, things will be quiet for a little while.
So so the Emperor asks why Quan Chi and Xi Lian are doing what they're doing.
Detecting a little tension here.
Yeah.
Is that the vibe I'm getting?
What's happening?
Yeah. What's happening, guys? Chill out.
He also heals Xi Lian, who's also injured and had not been given any assistance up to this point either. So it's not just the one passed out on the floor.
Hey, that dude can stand at least.
Yeah. And Quan Chi goes into the whole story about him being the tutor, and then the tutor killed his kingdom, and he wants to challenge him to a duel. And I wrote down here, Lang Quan Chi is just a brute. He is always ready to fight about it. Yeah. He just almost got murdered by Hao Shang, and he
was saved
nothing.
By the person whom he is getting ready to duel. But then again, if you ever got a reason like this dude murdered my own family, kind of feels like this is a time when maybe brute force is the right call. Like, this dude murdered my entire family. I demand satisfaction. All right, yeah. I mean, sometimes this guy is half-cocked, but here I'm with him. Episode 91 opens with him stating his case, and I'm right here with him. I'm like, yeah.
I think it's just because I already know how.
Yeah.
I was not as with it, but I did. Well, the first time I read it in the book, I was like, oh, Xi Lian has a fucked up history too, because I took Quan Chi at face value and was like,
I did not, and it turned out you were in the right here, and I was in the wrong. But I was just like, it was one sword technique. Like, I imagine those get passed around like the pizza box at a party. Like, everybody can have a slice. Anybody can learn how to do a slash that makes fire. But apparently that's not the case. This is a very unique sword technique that does not get around.
So, and Quan Chi explains, because the Emperor does ask if he has any evidence, and Quan Chi explains that while he was fighting with Hao Shang, the shadow rushed forward and separated them. Now, that technique stopped the violence without harming either of them, only harming the user. And this is something that happened when he was a small child, when Feng Shen saved him when he was 12 from bandits in the street.
Yeah.
So, and Xi Lian would be the one to make a sword technique where the only person who gets hurt is him. Let's just, character-wise, it is very in character.
He's like, hey, I was trying to find the most emo sword technique I could. This is the one I came up with.
And this is also how Feng Shen ended up being the tutor, because his parents asked Feng Shen to stay out of gratitude. Yeah. And Lang Quan Chi wanted Feng Shen to teach him that technique, but he wouldn't because he was a prince and he wouldn't have any use for it.
Yeah.
The chances of Quan Chi having to
honestly, a
harm
technique
himself,
that only hurts yourself, no one has a use for it. This guy made it because he likes suffering, I think.
So, we go on and Muxing starts here being kind of decent, pointing out that no one else saw anything. You said you saw a shadow flash by, but no one else seems to have seen it.
Yeah.
The truth is, everything you've said has only been from your perspective. And so that's Muxing actually kind of defending Shilian for half a second. And Feng Shen is over here like, stop adding fuel to the fire. What are you doing? And so Quan Chi thinks that the best way to solve this problem is to fight about it because this bitch has one move and slashes his own arm.
Although I do like this. I mean, like, yeah, I kind of owe you my life. You saved me here and did damage to your own arm. So let me repay that debt before the fight starts. So he slices his own arm and he's like, all right, we can fight now. I got a clean conscience. How about you?
And Quan Chi says, I know you can wield a sword with either hand, and you're ungodly skilled as a swordsman.
I will say this, they say a little earlier on, and I didn't mention it, that they think the reason he never pulled a sword is because he was trying to hide that he had this technique, and that's why he's been all peace, love, and picking up tin around town.
Yeah.
It's to hide this crime that he did. But yeah, also this whole, like, oh, I heard you can fight with either hand made me think of the Princess Bride. Like, oh, I am not left-handed. I got real Princess Brides off that scene.
That's cute. That's a good callback. I like that. That's a good movie.
Yeah. I love that movie.
So, Shilian is like, to Lan Quan Chi's credit, he throws Shilian a sword, and Shilian's like, I'm not going to fight you. If I fought you, you die.
Yeah.
Because much like Hao Shang, I'm stronger than you, bitch.
But I will also say, like, when someone's mad at you, the way to de-escalate the situation is not to be like, oh, if we fought, I'd whoop your ass. It's kind of like telling someone that's upset to calm down. You're actually escalating the situation, even though you don't know it.
Yeah, this is fair.
Yeah.
And this is one of the reasons why Xi Shuan is one of my favorite characters.
Mm-hmm. He steps in.
He does. He totally is like, hey.
Because it's his pal. He doesn't want his pal to get in a fight. Even whether he wins or loses, he doesn't want his pal to get in a fight because he knows his pal don't want to fight.
I think there's been some sort of misunderstanding. If Grand Tutor Feng Shen wore a white mask the entire time, perhaps the killings were done by someone in disguise. And he's pointing out all of the flaws in this story.
And what I was saying, like, maybe this sword technique gets around, like.
So.
And the Emperor, once again, showing some good Emperor vibes, is like, hey, let's just ask the dude.
He says, Shan Li,
bro,
have you done this thing?
Sishu, bro.
Are you Feng Shen?
Sishu, bro.
Did you kill the king?
And then we get the flashback of him doing it.
Yep.
And he's like, yeah.
Yep, it's true. He and I are one.
Yeah, episode 91 with a hell of a cliffhanger. Just, actually, yeah, that might have been me. Whoops.
And Shilian decides that the best way to deal with this situation is to be just send me back down to the mortal realm. Just demerit me. I don't need it. Demote me.
Pick up 10. I'll work my way back up.
Yeah, it'll be fine.
Yeah, like, right now I'm staring at you from the top of the game. I can get back up here, shoot.
So, Xi Shuan, being true to his character, is like, everyone seems to think that His Highness Shanli became Feng Shen in order to extract revenge and massacre the royal court of Yong'an. But if he really wanted revenge, why would he spare the prince?
Yeah.
He's, like, again, Xi Shuan is here for Shilian.
He's really his counsel in this trial that seems to be happening now.
Logically, if someone wanted revenge, wouldn't the crown prince be the first person he wanted to kill?
Yeah.
And Xi Shuan is just the best. I adore him. So he's like, although I'm not close with Shilian, I saw how he risked his life to save Tai Hua in the battle with Hao Shang in Ghost City.
Yeah, Shilian is not going to defend himself.
No.
Because a combination of A, I think he's kind of a masochist, and B, there's a lot of guilt here.
Yes.
That we will get more of as we go. But yeah, he will quietly stand by
And let himself be blamed.
Yeah. He's straight... Just to avoid a fight that he will certainly win, he'd rather go all the way back to the start and be like, put me back to the mortal realm. I'll start building it up again. Yeah.
So the Heavenly Emperor is like, you know what? You've always been rash, Taihua. You need to learn to listen and
use your judgment. And the sky is blue.
Yeah, right?
Taiha, little rash.
Taiha, you ready to fight all the time. Shut up and sit down for a second.
Yeah.
And he forbids them from fighting. I wrote down here, the Heavenly Emperor says, no fighting, boys, and sends them to their room. Because that is basically what happens.
Yeah.
He's like, yep, all right, I'm going to investigate this. You're not being demoted. And... for right now, you both need to go to your palaces.
I would like you to stay at least 100 feet apart from each other. I'm issuing a restraining order against the two of you.
Yes. Yes, that's exactly what it was.
Yeah.
It was like sending children to their room. It's that scene in Doctor Who where the Ninth Doctor tells the little boy in the mask, go to your room.
Yeah. Yep.
And Pei Ming is like, Shi Shuang knows how to defend somebody when he wants to, huh?
Yeah.
Too bad you didn't do that for Pei Su.
Ouch.
And Shi Shuang's like, Pei Su fucked himself up. Leave me alone.
Yeah. Speaking of possible guilt, that seemed a little defensive.
Yeah.
Like, Pei Su, hey, that's not on me, man.
So...
We get a couple of beautiful shots of the palace.
The background in this, I swear.
Yeah, the heavenly capital, as usual. Very lovely.
All the scenery is just beautiful. Shilian's playing with dice.
Shilian thinks these dice have run out of luck. They're just normal dice at this juncture. So he suspects.
He does know that Lang Yan is safe with Hao Shang. And he wants to pay San Long back for destroying Paradise Manor.
Yeah, he's like, oh man, if I get... that's his only worry about getting sent back to Earth, is that it will take longer to pay him back. He's like, oh my god, if I get sent back to Earth, I'm going to be in debt for like, so long.
So long.
I can't even do the math. Can't even do the math.
So much time to get stuff together to pay Hao Shang back for his Paradise Manor.
And unfortunately, his brooding is interrupted by people fighting outside his front door.
Because Mu Xing and Feng Shen have one mode, and it is just to punch each other in the face.
They are socking it out right now.
Yep. And Mu Xing is complaining that Feng Shen doesn't know anything about him, and Feng Shen's like, you probably wanted him to be cruel, and you were here to get a sordid tale about him murdering all of the Yang'an royalty. And Mu Xing and Feng Shen just need to go to therapy. These two are impossible.
Oh, just kiss him already. You guys. Like, why are you being like this?
And Mu Xing is just done with Feng Shen. Talks about what right does he have to look down on him and all this stuff. And Shilian goes outside and is like, if y'all keep fighting, I'm gonna call somebody. I'm not doing this with y'all.
Yeah.
And then guess who's back? Back again.
So we get
baby.
an explosion of silver butterflies and a shield of some sort.
Yeah, Feng Shen draws up a shield to protect them from the butterflies, because those butterflies are so scary. So terrifying.
They got razor wings or something.
They're not dangerous, but...
Yeah. Oh, no, they're dangerous.
I also feel like everyone overreacts, but maybe it's just because I'm on Shilian's side here, and I think that...
You should just let him kill you. Look how pretty he is.
There are worse ways to die than a butterfly attack, right?
As long as it's not on your tombstone, killed by butterflies, that's going to be embarrassing. You are the tombstone the goth kids are going to have sex on, because they will not respect you. You're killed by butterflies. Murdered by butterflies.
Hey, Goreship, remember that?
I know someone that does.
Yeah.
If you don't. Yeah, that was not a Goreship shout out, by the way. Sorry, Goreship. I was not trying to throw you under the bus with that.
Hey, I just remember some stories, and if I forget any details, I'll just ask my husband. He will have remembered those details.
Yeah, weird but true. All right, so we are back to episode 93. Shields up, butterflies diverted. But
And-
it was all just a scam for a little bit of Your Highness kidnapping.
Yeah, some gratuitous waist grabbing, which is the thing of beauty, because that is what Hao Sheng does.
It's also how you kidnap people you like.
Yeah, you gotta be gentle.
And yank 'em.
Yeah, you gotta be gentle with them. So Hao Sheng grabs Shilian and bolts, and the generals jump into the Discord to say, hey...
hey, are you in the Discord chat right now?
Yeah. Hey, Shilian's not in the palace. He just got kidnapped. How did he get up here? Because Hao Sheng's not supposed to be able...
There is no way he got kidnapped because we're right outside the royal palace. This is like our seat of power. No one is strong enough to just come in and swipe people, right? Right?
And then Hao Sheng enters the chat. And all of the officials get real quiet because most of them are still fucking terrified of Hao Sheng. With a laugh. With a laugh, he silences the whole Discord. Long time no see, everyone. Did you miss me? I certainly didn't miss any of you.
Get out of the group chat, man. I changed the password just so you couldn't get in here.
Tell me why that line is such a turn on. Because out of everything in this, when I read it, when I watched it, and reading it again here, it might be my favorite thing that this man says.
The long time no see, everyone, or the did you miss me? I certainly didn't miss you.
That second one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It is so hot. I have no other expression for it than it is so fucking hot. I love him so much. And it's just like this, I love it. It's my favorite.
I'm trying to get the vibes. I can't. But I'm very happy that line brings you. I will say this: it's a good line, but much like "Hasta la vista, motherfucker," or like, I'm combining Die Hard and Terminator. I don't know. Anyway, like, just because it's a good line doesn't mean that I'm.
He says a lot of things, and I love a lot of things that he says.
Yeah, but I wrote down some lines that he says later on.
This particular one in particular. Always gets me.
Yeah. Did you miss me? I certainly didn't miss you.
Yeah. It's hot.
It just depends on how you're reading it. It's a very cool one-liner, but it's also something two fourth graders that don't like each other would say to each other on the playground.
Well, maybe we've just established my maturity.
It's like, I'm rubber and you're glue. Whatever you say bounces off of me and sticks to you.
So, he tells anybody that if they want to come get Shilian, they're more than welcome to come try. And predictably, they're all very quiet.
Yeah. I'm going to say this. Ouch. Like if I got kidnapped and the person who kidnapped me was talking smack and all of my friends were just ... I'd be like, you know what? Fuck all y'all. Fuck all y'all. And not one of you wants to come rescue me. Jeez, like, form a team. Like, try and make a...
He killed 33 gods.
Well, make a cannon or something. Like, you are gods. You are literally... Like, come up with something. ... is not the correct response when one of your own is kidnapped right under your noses.
One, I think we've established that most of the Heavenly Capital
they don't like him
doesn't
much.
Care much for Shilian, which is their mistake.
Yeah, it's one of our own. We should care.
Two, most of the ones, even if they did care for Shilian, cannot afford to fight Hao Sheng.
I suppose not.
Also, three, Shilian was never in any danger with Hao Sheng.
Yeah, but they don't know that. So I feel like I thought at least a couple people were going to go to bat for him. That's all.
So he severs the connection with the Discord, and they start walking. And much like you had, I think you said something about it last time, he does jingle when he walks.
Yeah, he gets a little jingle jangle when he walks.
He does. It is so cool.
I got spurs that jingle jangle jingle.
So, Shilian points out that it wasn't an easy feat to connect himself to the capital, and he's wondering how Sheng did it. And then he talks about how he feels bad, and honestly...
Sorry about your armory.
Well, he apologizes first for the fact that they were there for the Earthmaster.
Yeah.
And how bad he feels that Hao Sheng was so open with him, and he feels bad for betraying him. And also, yeah, he burned down Paradise Manor, and I will repay you somehow. Yeah. Is what he promises. And Hao Sheng is all like, I made you bleed, man. I feel so bad. You don't have, like, I injured you.
Like, oh, could we call it even? That's good, actually. I really had no idea. I was bluffing. I have no idea how I'm going to pay you back for that manor. That thing's got to be priceless. That's like if I went and blew up the grotto at the Playboy Manor. Like, that's not money I have. Like, I work 1,000 lifetimes. I can't pay you back for that.
But Shelian says that he rushed forward and it was his own fault. And then
the sword's given a little shake. And gets what's the matter? Nothing. Like, what's that about, Cecilia? Because I didn't pick up any understanding behind that. I know the sword likes him.
Yeah, and Yiming is also... The fan theories are kind of that Yiming is sort of the emotional part of Hao Sheng, that Hao Sheng, like, pushes down.
Ah, okay.
And so a lot of, like, his own, like, anxiety and fear over hurting Shelian is probably manifesting here. And
his fear over admitting it out loud.
Yeah. And Yiming has his own consciousness almost.
Yeah.
So Yiming does like, it has been established, Yiming does like Shelian. And so there's probably the sword itself on top of Hao Sheng's guilt probably feels a little bit of his own guilt for hurting
That's
Shelian.
True. He played a part in that.
Yeah. And he didn't want to.
Yeah.
So, Shelian asks if, whenever he rolls a 2, if that means that he'll see Hao Sheng. Because he had just rolled a 2 when everything started happening. And Hao Sheng's like, no.
That's a coincidence. I'll come whenever.
Yeah. If you want to see me, no matter which number you roll, I'll always be there. I love it so much. They're so cute.
That one, as a man with not a romantic bone, that one gave me the old eye roll. I was like... Jesus. Cue Celine Dion, My Heart Will Go On. Yep.
Oh my God.
I'll always be there.
You know what?
Look, you knew who I was when we started this podcast.
I'm going to make you read so many more romance novels.
That's fine. As long as you're ready for my... Ooh, lightning sword. Finally, something cool's happening. As long as you're ready for that, but in future things, All
right. So here's where I really get sick of Long Quan Shi. He's like a dog with a bone. The bitch needs a hobby. Because the lightning sword is Long Quan Shi throwing a sword down for Shelian to pick up.
Yep.
Because Quan Shi is of the opinion that Shelian was trying to run away, and he owes him a duel. Yeah. And I love how... So, I screenshot this one just for you to get because this says you owe me a duel. And then in the next panel, when on the start of 94, it says, are you trying to run away? You owe me an explanation.
And that's something that happens a lot of times in anime too, because they'll replay the next episode and they'll slightly change it.
Remember when they had the recaps on the Saturday morning cartoons, and from one Saturday morning at the end of the episode to the next Saturday morning when it's giving you that playback, it would change little parts
and sometimes when a week had gone by, it would gaslight you, and you'd be like, "Wait, am I remembering that wrong?" And then you realize, no, the animators just didn't look at their notes from last week.
Yeah.
Or in a case like this, where it's like sort of, I mean, it's not a webcomic, but where it's coming out in sections, maybe the writer's like, actually, I want to change that line to this, because this is actually a little better.
Well, or that word can mean either one.
Oh, also true. It could be a translation thing.
Yep, and... explanation maybe works a little bit better for what the chapter's actually doing this time. Yeah. But yeah, it made me think of those Saturday morning cartoon recaps.
Absolutely. I'm glad we had the same note on that.
So, Shelian, because San Long is ready to go.
Yeah.
But Shelian is like, okay.
San Long, I gotta fight my own battles occasionally.
So, Quan Shi asks, what did his parents do to deserve to be murdered like that?
Yeah, we took you in. We had a good time. Hey.
Were we not good to the survivors? My parents ignored the voices of dissatisfaction and changed policies and tried to protect the people of Shanli.
I like that. Like, we went against the grain. People didn't want us to be nice to you. And we were. Like, we were super nice to the people,
He was good friends of the prince. He had a lot of friends. He was friends with a lot of people from Shanli. And after the banquet, he stood up against people who wanted to rid the youngin of Zhanli. And he's like, I am owed an explanation for this. Yeah. And Shelian's like, I don't have one. Like,
yeah. And here's the thing, like, as hot-headed as he is, he's like, look, you murdered my whole family. This has to end in a duel unless you can give me literally anything. Silence. So, yeah, pick your sword up. We're doing this.
No matter the results, even if you beat me to death, I will never ask for repayment.
Yeah.
So basically, if you kill me, fine. I'd rather die here than not know or not have some kind of redressing of the situation.
Yeah.
So Shi-Lian picks up his sword and is
This was weird for me because, like, you know, we've been following him along this whole time, and now it's like, I don't know, man. Maybe you do need to die on the end of this sword because, like, everything I'm hearing about this, like, dude's in the right. Like, pick up this lightning sword he gave you. It's go time.
See, so he acts like he's gonna fight him.
Yeah.
And then Hao Shang turns Quan Chi into a dromedal. Which I did look up because I was kind of curious. And a dromedal, according to Wikipedia, is a hollow, round Japanese traditional doll modeled after Bodhi-Rama, the founder of the Zen tradition of Buddhism.
For those who aren't following along, think of like the Russian nesting dolls. Very similar appearance, except I don't think there's more dolls inside of this one.
Nope, it's just this one.
Yeah.
So, and I also wanted to point out here that in the book, in this scene, Shi-Lian trips Quan Chi and sort of tricks him instead of fighting him. Mm-hmm. And Quan Chi complains that Shi-Lian didn't fight him fairly. And Shi-Lian is like, I never said I was going to.
Right.
And like...
That wasn't part of the rule. You know? You just said fight.
Yeah, and then Hao Shang turns him into a dromedal because he won't stop whining. And he insults Shi-Lian. And Hao Shang's like, if you can't be nice, you don't get your mouth.
Yeah.
And that's the... So, he gets turned into this doll. And Hao Shang says he's stupid in every shape and flicks him. And
yeah.
I love Hao Shang.
Yeah, Hao Shang's having a good time.
Hao Shang picks him up, and they go along their way because Hao Shang has a plan.
Yeah, this is a side trip. Side trip.
The green light that roams the dark, and that is the green touring lantern from the 4 calamity tales.
I told you these calamities were all gonna all the calamities, they're not even a concern anymore. I don't even think any of them are still around. It's like, oh well, they're all gonna show up. Guaranteed.
I really also enjoy the fact, so Shi-Lian's like, didn't you take over his hideout a while ago? And Hao Shang is like, I did. He got away, though, and he spent 50 years building a new lair.
Yeah.
I love the fact that Hao Shang so comprehensively destroyed his hideout that it took him 50 years to replace it.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Well, I'll know how impressive that is when I see how long it takes for this palace armory to get repaired.
It's already fixed.
Is it? Well, then, Jesus Christ. Too OP. Like, it's too OP. It's too much.
So... He turns around, and Hao Shang is
a green fire-haired ghost.
Yeah, it's adorable. They're so cute.
Oh.
And he transforms them both into these ghost disguises because otherwise they won't be able to get close.
They need to get close to him for reasons.
Mm-hmm. So we go on, and they get inside this little cavern, and they're talking, or they hear people talking about Pei Su. Qirong is complaining about Pei Su and how he's still causing trouble. And he's using Pei Su to start a fight between Pei Ming and Quan Yizhen, which we haven't really been introduced to yet.
Yeah. And there's a bunch of humans tied up being led through this cave.
Yep. And then we meet a little baby boy. His name is Goozy.
Hey, Goozy.
He's adorable, and I love him.
He's ridiculously cute.
And he should not be here.
No.
He is a tiny baby.
He's trying to get his dad out of the line.
Yeah.
He's like, Dad, untie yourself. Come home with me. This is ridiculous. Why are you being like this?
Qirong calls Pei Ming a womanizer, which would be a lot more impactful if he wasn't a cannibal. I feel like out of the two of them, sleeping with women who are consenting to sleep with you is less of a crime.
0% of a crime. Let's call it as we see it.
Yeah.
0% of a crime.
0% of a crime.
Yeah. Now this may be my favorite panel. The big panel of "Our King is right."
Mm-hmm.
and you get a full reveal of this of the Green Lantern's kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
And it's wild. It's like a throne, and behind it, it almost looks like a weeping willow tree. And there's a cauldron, and like all the spirits are these little lights walking up, and it's a cool. I'm like, all right, this guy's got a nice aesthetic at least.
Yeah, the set design is gorgeous.
Yeah. This guy. No wonder it took 50 years. This place is awesome. Took some work.
So. Yeah, this is him just establishing that
we get our nice reveal of him, and he's all reclining on the throne.
So part of what Shirong is supposed to do is he's supposed to look a lot like Shilian.
And he does.
Yep.
Yep.
They are related, and if it weren't for like the teeth and the evil eyes,
mm-hmm.
he would be almost a dead ringer for Shilian. He's
Yeah.
a little bit crueler in the face, and that's it.
Appearance-wise, I like him like. With mask, I like him a lot. When he takes his mask off, he looks a little, like, silly. But I like him with the mask. He looks really cool. And he's got a footrest that some lady kneeling down. Well, we may come back to her. We may talk about her a little later.
And it may not be a lady.
No, it looks like a lady in this picture, though. That was going to be one of the surprises.
I figure most people who come to this have read the books.
Yeah.
Because I don't see how you would have.
In this case, if not any other, they might not have, because like we are literally leading him to an app that no longer works.
Aww. So here's where we discover Shirong is someone that Shilian knows,
mm-hmm.
and he's also making a note to relay the information to Pei Ming and Quan Yizhen about Shirong messing with people.
Yeah.
And he notices that Song Lan seems especially ill-tempered. One of the green ghosts
notices the kid.
Tries to grab Goozy. Yeah. And
Goozy gets tied up and added to the line.
Yeah. Hao Shang changes his disguise, and...
Yeah, this episode 95 now.
Yep. Well, I also wrote down here, when we discover that Shirong is someone Shilian knows, it doesn't mean much at first. The boy's been around for 800 years. I imagine he knows
Who
quite
don't
a
you
few
know?
people.
Yeah. Amongst the immortals, you probably know all of them.
But Hao Shang is here to start his mission to completion.
Yeah.
So he claims to be someone who is the last member of the Shanli line.
Yeah, trying to shake the lantern here.
Yep, trying to get him to give out information. And Shirong's like, they all died a long time ago. How could you be a member of the family? Why are you impersonating people?
Yeah.
And Hao Shang's like, well, how'd they die?
It's like, I'm done with this. Arrest that man.
Get rid of him. Get rid of the brat.
I had to stand up off my emerald throne, and I'm mad about it.
And then he transforms back into Hao Shang and proceeds to smash Shirong's stupid little face into the ground.
Like, repeatedly. This part was very funny. Just, like, slamming his head over and over into the ground. I will also say, I got weird... Speaking of callbacks, I'm going to go way back. I got weird Sailor Venus vibes with all these costume changes. Where it's like, yeah, I'm going to turn into a stewardess for 2 panels. And then I'm going to change scenes again.
Yep. Look, there's one part in the book, which I don't know if... It might be after this, which means who knows if we'll ever get to it. But there's a part in the book where there's a whole bunch of shit going on. Yeah. And Hao Shang is just standing in a corner changing his wardrobe for a minute. And yeah, it is very Sailor V. This is a good callback.
Yeah, a little Sailor V.
Yeah. So Hao Shang
just teleports behind our green dream here and just starts slamming his face into the ground.
And he's like, who are you?
And he's yelling for the guards to help him. Like,
you're seeking your death.
Yeah.
There are things in this world that can never be stopped. Don't you know that? Like the sun setting in the west, for example. Slam.
Yeah, he's emphasizing every sentence with another head slam.
Or crushing elephants, or elephants crushing ants under their feet. Or me claiming your life.
He's like, damn.
I love him. I love him.
Yeah.
And yeah, his guards are being of no help, and all of the people are starting to run around screaming and trying to get
all
away.
The humans are like, yeah, this is my chance.
Yeah.
I'm gonna run for it, yeah. Yeah.
And Shilian's trying to get everybody to hold still, but that's not going to happen. They're trying very hard to escape.
I have a better idea. I'm leaving.
So, Hao Shang asks again.
Repeats the question.
How did Prince Anli die? And Shilian's going in to try to calm Hao Sheng down and separate them, but then Hao Sheng freezes him.
Yeah.
And Hao Sheng again
like you're
repeats the question.
You're too gentle for this work.
Yep.
I am torturing a person for information, and you're can't let you be involved in this because you're gonna try and stop me.
You will try to stop this. Yeah. While Shi Rong finally says it was Lang Quanxi. Lang Quanxi killed Prince On Li.
Yeah.
And Prince On Li. And so Hao Sheng picks Shi Lian up and throws the Daruma doll backwards, and
there's the info.
Chapter 96 opens up with Ling Quanxi going, "What the hell are you talking about?" Yeah. And poor Shi Rong is like, "What the fuck are you doing here too? Why is everyone in my lair tonight?"
Yeah, like, this was my little green dream home, and I've had a lot of invaders in the last 10 minutes. And I'm honestly feeling a little disrespected from all the head smashes.
Yeah. Why? My nose is bleeding, and now there are 3 people in here that I didn't want in here.
Yeah.
Why are you here?
Please leave.
Yeah. So Lang Quanxi is not going to leave this altercation the same as he started it.
No.
And he talks about how Long An was his friend, and he died of illness, and how dare Shi Rong accuse him of killing him. And Shi Rong's like,
not quite.
No, he died after the gilded banquet. You were definitely the one who assassinated him. If it wasn't you, then it must have been those old dogs from Yong'an.
See, I'm not the only person that has trouble reading the white on black.
I didn't have trouble reading it on my phone.
Weird.
So
when it gets bigger.
Basically, they're going back and forth about how this is basically a good recap about how violence begets violence.
Yeah.
Because Shi Rong is part of the Shanli royal family.
Right.
And he is basically saying that, like, you used the things you stole from the Shanli kingdom and gave them out to Yong'an with no care of the Shanli people.
Yes.
And you didn't, like, you claim that as charity because you didn't kill the Shanli people.
Yeah.
But the things that you gave to Yong'an belonged to Shanli.
Yeah.
And, like, do you really think that the descendants of the Shanli royal family would get along with those of Yong'an? They just wanted to gather intel. So basically he's saying that Prince On Li was there to gather intel for him.
Yeah.
So that they could do what they did. Sure, you killed people, and your people killed On Li afterwards, but that kid died without any regrets. If he was the only casualty from Shanli, whereas Yong'an suffered over 30. And he's not wrong. When one kingdom falls and another is born, the children of that fallen kingdom may hold grudges.
Yeah. Very understandably in some cases.
Yep. So, Prince On Li was there to gather information, and he views it as an acceptable loss that On Li got killed because they accomplished their goal.
Right.
And
the definition of acceptable losses.
And then Lang Quanxi killed Shi Lian as the tutor Fengshen. So he asked if On Li was on the Grand Tutor's side because he's like, he's not, the story isn't meshing the way that it would if Fengshen had done this.
Yeah.
And Shi Rong's like, I don't know anything about this tutor.
Yeah.
Only the devil knows which side he was on.
Yeah. Yeah, he seemed like a force of chaos that just came wandering into this situation.
The Yong'an banquet was massacred by the people of Xianli. Those traitors at the banquet were all supposed to have been killed by On Li. Everything went according to plan until Fengshen busted in, and On Li ran to Qirong to ask what happened. Right. And then Fengshen had a bounty placed on his head.
That very night.
So
he says, I heard you nailed your master to the inside of a coffin, too. Why did he nail him to the inside of a coffin? Like, that part I did not understand. I understand it makes the lantern very happy. Like, that's, but I don't understand why there was coffin nailing. Were you clear on that part, or also not?
I think it mainly was just kind of like torture, because I don't think that there was any other reason for it.
Gotcha. Just a dick move, man.
Well,
it's like defiling a corpse, kinda.
Like you were saying earlier with Quan Chi, he was trying to avenge his family.
Yeah.
And as far as he was aware, Feng Shen was the one who had murdered his father, and so...
He gave him an uncomfortable afterlife
he
in a coffin with nails.
Which, honestly, heartbreakingly, Shi Lian spent 100 years in that coffin.
Yeah.
He did give him a very painful death.
Yeah.
And Shi Rong is Shi Lian's cousin, but he is very entertained by Shi Lian's misfortune.
Yeah.
Which Hao Shang takes real personal. But...
As you would.
But...
Like, hey... I heard a lot of people you died, you loved died, and that then you punished the wrong person. Yeah, no one's gonna like that. It's mean.
Yeah.
It's just mean-spirited.
Lang Quanxi takes it a little hard that he punished the wrong person.
Yeah.
If it's really... And then he turns to Shilian, and if it's really true, why didn't you say anything? If it wasn't you, if you didn't kill anyone, why would you accept the blame? The question for the ages!
Yeah.
Quan Chi. Who the fuck knows?
Yeah.
And Hao Shang very kindly unfreezes him.
Hey, it's like, hey, you want to answer? I'll unfreeze you.
I also want to know why you accepted the blame. Let me hear it.
Yeah.
Shi Lian decides to just call Shi Rong a liar, because that will save this problem, as if Shi Rong's lying, then Shi Lian thinks he can still salvage the situation and take
And
all
it's
the
not
blame.
like the dude's super trustworthy. Like, easy to believe he is a liar.
And Shi Lian said he'd just been demoted, and he made a mistake and was resentful, and he saw him kill his father with his own eyes, so
Yeah.
it was no one else. And Shi Rong is like, he finally pieces together that Shi Lian was Feng Shen.
Yeah.
Which took him a minute.
Yeah. Well, let's be honest. He's had a busy 10 minutes. It takes a minute to process all this shit.
So, he starts laughing about the fact that Feng Shen was Shi Lian and was killed by his own student. And it's too funny. And then Hao Shang chokes him.
Yes.
And he calls Shi Lian a bitch.
Yeah.
And
Shi Lian's like, it's cool.
It's
I ain't
fine.
mad about it.
It's not a big deal.
This little goober, like, he's just a crazy, troublesome person.
Which he's always been. After this part, you do get a flashback, which is one of the flashbacks you hate, because it spends a long chunk of time in this.
Yes.
And Chi-Rong is always a nightmare.
Chi-Rong seems great.
Yeah.
He seems like a real stand-up guy. Real fun fella.
And Chi-Rong is teasing him about calling him San Lang. He's like, y'all seem close. How did you end up hanging around a demon like him?
Kiss him already.
Aren't you afraid he's going to pollute your name?
Yeah.
Look at you two. He flew into a rage just because I said you were a bitch. Maybe he got blinded by the divine light above your head.
I will also say this, like, A, guy ain't wrong, and B, it's funny to think that this name could sink any more than it's sunk. Like, how much more polluted could this name be than it is at this exact moment?
You know what? Fair.
Yeah.
And he says, oh right, he was already blind to begin with. And that gets him punched in the face by Shi Lian.
Shi Lian, not a man prone to violence. This was the punch heard round the world. I wrote in my notes.
Shi Lian is like, you can talk all this shit about me that you want, but you will keep Hao Shang's name out your mouth.
Yeah, put some respect on that name. Yeah.
But yeah, so I really also really love this line, because Shi Lian says, don't think just because I've never hit you before, I am unwilling to do so now.
Yeah.
I may not be violent, doesn't mean I can't be violent.
Yeah.
So, we get a whole much more mechanical laughing, yeah. The maniacal laughing is just, he gave me a bloody nose, ha 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 ha.
Well, it did surprise, like, there's almost a bit of pride in it. Like, I drove the dude who is practically a pacifist to swing on me. You know what? I'm going to take that as a badge of bravery.
Then they also grew up together.
Yeah.
And in all the time that they grew up together, Shi Lian never hurt Shirong.
Yeah.
So it is probably a bit of like I finally got a reaction.
Yeah. Like he's happy about it, and probably very surprised, a little shocked.
So and
this person's crazy. Not a sound mind.
Long Quan Shi thinks that like he's clearly lost his mind, and Shilian is ready to lean into this. He is going to take all the blame, but Shirong will not let it go.
No.
He calls Shirong crazy, and Shirong is like, wait just a second, let me ask you, how did Prince Anli die? That's the fucking question for this episode.
Prince Anli, how did he die? I think if we ask this question 250 times, we will get an answer.
Eventually, someone will know. So, Shirong points out that he dissected the body, and although outside it didn't look like he had any injuries, he couldn't stop vomiting up blood.
Yeah, they said the idea was he died of illness, and this is the autopsy reveals something else.
Yep. At first, it seemed as though those thieves from Yong'an had used some kind of trick to make it appear as if he died of illness, but now that I think about it, there is one other person who could have done it. As for that person, he is, of course, my fair and righteous cousin. After all, our flower-crowned martial god is a pure and untouched mountain lotus.
Yeah.
I don't think he means that the way it's supposed to be meant.
A bit of sarcasm I'm detecting, yeah.
And so, for that, Hao Shang just casually breaks his leg.
Stops him 0%.
Yeah.
This is kind of the scene of, if you remember our Superman comic where Batman's got Joker. He's like, if I hit you hard enough, long enough, you'll give me the cure. And Joker's like, you really believe that? The same thing's happening here. It's like, I'll break your leg. That'll shut you up. It's like, nah, dog, it won't.
Here's the difference between Batman and Hao Shang is Hao Shang is fine with the violence for the sake of violence, whereas Batman is not.
Although, I am seeing some Green Lantern and Joker parallels I hadn't noticed before.
That is fair. That is very fair.
Yeah.
No, It
was you. It was definitely you.
Yeah. So, Shirong says that, obviously, Shilian murdered Prince Anli.
Yeah.
And he makes oh, our ancestors up above, look upon the kind and righteous descendant that you have
he is so
brought
happy
upon this world.
He is so happy to see his, like, goody-goody cousin drawn through the muck. Mm-hmm. Like, it's, when you have that perfect relative who does everything right, and then they mess up, and you're secretly like...
Ha-ha.
Yeah. Although, no secret here.
No.
He's very publicly ha-ha.
Yeah, he's loudly going ha-ha.
Loudly ha-ha.
So, who killed the last remaining bloodline of the Shanli royal family, and out of the bloodline of Shanli's House of Z, Shilian. I've never understood the logic of being concerned about bloodlines. This is a thing that I do not get. I do not get it here. I do not get it, like,
well, it
now.
makes a little more sense in, like, royalty circles, because there's things attached to it. Like, like knowing who is the son, who is the daughter... it determines titles. It determines deeds. It determines who's going to rule the kingdom. Like,
I also think that it's probably
in that respect amongst, and I assume in the godhood world, there's a lot of similarities here. Like, you need to know who's related to who for shit like that. I don't understand bloodlines among poor people. Like, and also I think it helps that I come from problematic family in some respects. So, like, I've in many shapes, like, I value my friends more than a lot of my family because I picked them and, like, I chose them. I wasn't connected to them by look of it reminds me a lot of patriotism and how, like, if you were born on 2 miles north of the Texas border, you for some reason decide you're proud to be an American. And if you're 2 miles south, you're proud to be Mexican, when it's really just like a draw of where you happen to fall out of your mom at. So it's a weird thing to be patriotic about. Bloodlines are very similar. It's very weird to be concerned about bloodlines. Unless a king, we've got to figure out who the prince is because the kingdom's riding on it. Now, that's also stupid, But if that's the rules you're living under, then the bloodline's more important than, for Joe Schmo down at the factory.
It's just, I guess because a lot of kings like to pretend that they were chosen by God, that may make the bloodline matter.
Yeah.
But for the most part, this is just not a thing that has ever made sense to me.
God picked this wife for me, and that's why this is my son. And the kid I had with that concubine is just a bastard who I let clean my horse.
I was chosen by God to lead this country. Mm-hmm. God gave me the divine right, and so the divine right
of kings. Jesus Christ, me. Yeah.
Yeah, it's bullshit. It's never made any sense to me.
Well, I mean, which do you prefer? I will say this: as much as I do not like the divine right of kings, I like it better than God Emperor. Like if you look at the Egyptians or the Japanese, they thought their king was also their god, and he was Jesus. He was reincarnated into this human form to lead his people. So that's even more infallible, and that gives you even more power to be just a total dick.
Yeah.
So it sucks. It's one step down from a slightly suckier method. And
I'm an anarchist for a reason.
I mean, when these are the other options, any other response than anarchism is crazy.
Yeah, fucking right.
Yeah.
So Chi-Rong is asking the questions of why can't you just die, Shilian?
Yeah.
He's pestilence, misfortune, the greatest calamity is his birth. Chi-Rong does not...
That's also a good line.
Yeah,
though.
it is.
Your greatest calamity is
not...
your birth.
Your birth was Sean Lee's greatest calamity. Yeah. Why don't you just die?
Yeah.
How can you still bear to remain in this world?
Yeah, being such a loser. Yeah.
Quan Chi is like, this still doesn't tell me what happened at the banquet.
Yeah.
I need to know what happened at the banquet.
Yeah, Quan Chi is like... I am sick of these side tangents. If I could get a straight answer out of somebody.
Y'all keep your family drama between y'all.
Out of somebody.
I have a question.
About literally anything. Give me something, folks.
Yeah. Poor Quan Chi.
Yeah. He was really just brought here to be a witness to this this Jerry Springer show. Like, he really was just brought here to be the audience to go, ooh, damn. No, he didn't. Yes, he did.
And Chi-Rong is like, geez, Long Quan Chi, you still don't get it?
You idiot.
Yeah.
Straight up calls him an idiot.
Well, to be fair.
Even I figured it out, which is... cute, a little backhanded insult to himself too. Like, look, I'm a moron,
I'm an idiot,
even I figured
and
it
I've
out.
gotten this understood. You really don't understand your master's character, do you? Come, let me dissect my cousin for you, which he would do literally, given the chance.
Right.
Like,
I mean, he's straight up mentioned a dissection just recently.
See, you see, the Crown Prince. He came to Yungin, became the Grand Tutor, and taught you swordsmanship for 5 years. San Long. Shilian was going to interrupt.
Yeah.
And both Quan Chi and Ha Sheng are like, no. You're going to let him talk now.
Yeah, put sword down.
Yep, calm down.
There's another really cool scene. That was a panel. Just another nice panel of everyone just standing around looking cool.
They do look cool, though.
Yeah.
So, as for Prince An Li, of the descendants of Shan Li, he was the most obedient boy of them all. He pretended to get along with you with the plan of sending all of you to your graves at the Gilded Banquet, but instead he bumped into your master and ran away, leaving you to come upon the Gilded Banquet and send a bounty out for your Grand Tutor function. These are undoubtedly true. But my heavenly cousin, who witnessed An Li's rampage, probably thought, how could this be? This can't be right. So he found An Li and realized, oh dear, this brat's plans are huge. It won't end with just him killing a few people. He can't be saved. And so he killed him. And then you caught your master and nailed him inside a coffin.
Like you do.
It looks like there are chains around this coffin and all kinds of shit.
Yeah. I didn't want him coming back.
Mm-hmm.
And yet,
still didn't quite get rid of him. It'd be like that sometimes. Some people are just hard to get rid of.
God, yeah. Cockroaches.
And then Then when I got to the gilded banquet, why did I see him pull a sword out of my father's body? If that is truly what you saw, I can think of only one explanation. Anli did stab your father, but that didn't kill him. And yeah, that's a face of shock right there. Look at that poor guy.
Yep.
Chapter 98, poor Quan Shi is like
what?
wide-eyed and everything.
Yeah.
And so he's like, my cousin is a kind person. Which is really funny. Like, he's over here talking mad shit about Shilian for the whole...
But he knows. In the heart of hearts, he knows his cousin's actually the good one.
The first thing he would do wouldn't be to finish the job, but to save the person. However, what would be the first thing a person who was saved from certain death have done? After seeing so many people dead at the gilded banquet, what would be their first course of action? They'd go after the culprit. That wasn't too hard, was it? He can't stop being like a little shit.
He likes being the center of attention.
He does. He is enjoying.
He's like, everyone's looking at me and listen to my story. So this is one of those kill one to save 1,000 type deals.
After my good cousin saved him, he definitely said, "Grand Tutor, quick, go kill Prince Anli." Or maybe it was something more like, "Grand
like
Tutor,
this part.
Go call Quan Shi. I want all of Zhanli dead. I want them to join us in death."
Yeah.
Even if he didn't call for the death of the people of Shanli then, your father and your relatives would have eventually wanted them dead. Like, they would have struck back.
Yep.
And when your master heard it, it was clear that this would go badly very quickly. He killed him.
Yeah.
He killed him to
stop a war.
To save Shanli. My righteous cousin wanted to make peace with both sides, but ended up dooming them both. Although I'm still bitter about you escaping the assassination blade when you were 12. Shirong is over here just plotting different murder scenarios.
Yeah, but it also explains, like, Shirong is the whole reason he ended up Grand Tutor to begin with, because he did the assassination attempt. It also explains how his cousin was there to stop it. Mm-hmm. He might have got wind of it from his cousin. Knowing the fucking Green Lantern, he probably bragged about it.
Yeah, like he was when they first came in. Yeah. He was just loudly talking shit the whole time.
Yeah, he can't help himself.
Yep. So, basically, Shilian killed the king to protect the people of Shanli. Prince Anli and Shirong were working to kill off the royal family. Yep. That is what all of this boils down to. That is what Long Quan Shi has finally learned. And
Shilian, shut your mouth.
Yeah. Shilian's like, shut up! And don't listen. And he...
Right.
Yeah. And Quan Shi is like, you guys killed my family and my lineage and my father, and you all lied to me. All of my friends were fake. Ooh. And he's
hard.
He's having a breakdown. This
is a hard bunch of revelations to get in a pile all at once.
It's like, a lot of feelings.
He's had about 8 really hard issues here. He's had a lot of tough lessons.
You people from Zhanli never cared about our goodwill. You only ever conspired against us. You were planning on killing us this whole time. And basically, he's saying that all the stuff that Shanli taught him as Fengshen was lies. Like, everything, it didn't matter if people got along. That the notion that we could put the past behind us and start anew. Yeah. And he's like, Quan Shi says that because of what you taught me, I always felt that my efforts were worthwhile. I never felt like I was being mistreated. But everything you taught me was a lie. Yeah. And poor Quan Shi and poor Shilian, like, he throws
out a bullcrap. Bullcrap! Which I just thought, like, man, that translation, I would have picked many other words.
It was a little jarring.
It jarred the hell out of me. That's all I wrote for this entire chapter was the word bullcrap.
It was very jarring, and it seemed out of nowhere because, like, he is clearly upset.
Yeah.
Who censors themselves when they are that mad?
Right.
If you are a person who cusses, you're not going to stop cussing in the middle of a tirade when you are understandably pissed off like that.
Yeah.
That is when you cuss.
Yeah.
9/10 of those little bubbles should have been fuck, shit.
You fucking fuck, you fucker.
But Sheila is like, they weren't lies.
Yeah.
Everything, like, and he points out that, like, under Quan Chi's leadership, things have changed.
Yeah. These old blood feuds have kind of gone away.
Haven't you already done well? After what happened, the remnants of Shanli unified with Yungan, and they've had very few conflicts since. How can you call that a lie? And Quan Chi is like, yes, but my family.
Yeah.
And yeah, look, he's upset.
Yeah.
And I don't actually.
No. Yeah, episode 99, he's crying.
Here's
it's
the
very
thing.
sad.
I find his desire to rush in with a sword drawn all the time to be exhausting.
Yeah.
This right here, I do understand.
Yeah, this is heart-wrenching.
This is
poor
terrible.
guy. Yeah.
His whole family.
And the guy he looked up to as a teacher and educator. Like, oof.
Yeah. So he's crying and pointing out that, like, his family's wish was fulfilled because his parents wanted everyone to.
They got
along
their
too.
wish, but look, was the cost worth it?
Yeah.
Like, everyone in my family getting murdered.
And Shirong is like, you're just like your master with your Sabi righteousness. You came here asking us for your family. I should be the one asking your ancestors about my family. Shirong is like, what about we should be talking to you about our family.
Yeah.
Like, to hell with the notion that they
killed us
them.
first.
Yeah. In reality, they just placed an An of Yang'an in front of Li of Shanli, and it was all an attempt to outdo us forever. Basically, Shirong is like, you're here because you thought your family deserved to be loved and taken care of and remembered right.
Yeah.
And, like, you wanted your righteousness and your vengeance. But your family killed our family first.
Yeah.
Like...
Yeah. Coincidentally, that's the same reason I did my shit.
Yeah.
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 And it was like, you're a part of this too? He's like, yeah, of course I was.
Who do you think put who do you think put Prince Anli up to it?
Yeah. Absolutely.
I was here. I was a part of... all three of us, all from Zhongli, were a part of it.
Yeah.
And I mean...
It was a group effort.
Shilian
Couldn't have done it without my boys.
Shilian was a part of it unwittingly, but still.
Time for more slashes.
And here you actually get a nice little slashy fighty scene.
Yeah.
And...
well, one slice.
you get more because he's getting ready to be put in the...
Yeah, but I mean, I wouldn't call it a fight. It is a slaughter.
Yeah, to give some credit here, the horror parts with all the body parts chopped up and stuff is done real well.
Oh,
like, you get bones and shit, like...
Yeah.
Sliced in half.
We may not have mentioned this, but our green dream here, also cannibal.
So yeah, he ends up, but I thought this part was really cool because you do get like the bone and the muscle and all of that stuff.
He takes his legs out? Is that what happened? Is that what he cuts off of him?
I think so.
Yeah.
The gory parts are just done really well. The gory parts are very gory. To relate to the other show you do. Yeah.
Thank you. The Green Ghost is I keep calling him the Green Lantern. I keep calling him the DC comic superhero. Yeah, the Green Ghost is, he's in a bad way, but of course he's still laughing, still having a good time.
Doesn't hurt at all.
Yeah.
You are nothing compared to my dear cousin.
Yeah.
And, Shilian's like, shut up!
Yeah.
he spends most of this chapter just saying shut up.
And so he's dragging this, like... Now, like,
he's
one-armed, one-legged corpse. Well, not corpse, because he's still alive, but this dude, he's dragging him to his, I guess his broiler, where he be cooking folk.
Is this where you usually cook people?
Yeah.
Yep, what about it?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I wrote down here, Shirong eats people.
Yeah, Chiron, another problem. I like that he was not able to put two and two together. He's like, yo, what about it? He's like, you're getting ready to go in there.
Yeah. What do you think? What about it,
You're
bitch?
getting dunked in the boiler, my
to
friend.
be fair, Shirong did admit he wasn't the brightest bulb in the bucks to start with, because he was like, even I've got this.
But it's kind of weird, because he's also, like, a super schemer guy. So, like, he's both very clever at times and not very clever at times.
I think he was just thinking that, because he makes a point here that, like, he says, congratulations, cousin, look at the good disciple you've raised. He's all grown up now, he can torture people.
Yeah, he's boiling me alive.
Yeah, I do think he was of the opinion at first that because Quan Chi was raised basically by Feng Shen,
he
wouldn't do something
Yeah.
like this. Because Xi Lian wouldn't do.
No. Maybe,
So-
well, maybe not. I don't know. Like, man, this guy. If he would do it to anyone, his cousin is a real dick.
So he basically boils Shirong alive, and Hao Shang is over here is like, he's not dead.
I like how he's like, hey, you want to kill him? You need his ashes. The green ghost ashes, you can get rid of him, like, forever. Just putting a little seed. Planting a seed. Yeah.
Yeah. I also think he was trying to give Lang Quanxi something to do.
Yeah.
Because he's still enraged.
Oh, yeah.
And Hao Shang needs him to not have that rage at Xi Lian.
Yeah.
Because Hao Shang will
Don't
kill
direct
him.
it at Xi Lian.
Yeah. Hao Shang will kill him otherwise.
Yeah.
There's no way he is letting
No.
Quan Chi lay a finger on
Yeah.
Xi Lian. So he points out that yes, the Green Ghost's ashes aren't here. You've just killed an extension of him, and if you want to actually kill him, you're gonna have to go find his ashes. So go hunting, boys.
Yeah. He's like, I'll do it, and I'll use his ashes for an offering to my mother and father,
And then he's gonna come talk to
and
Xi
then
Lian.
I will come settle things with you.
So
Don't run next time. Peace.
and he smashes the cauldron.
Yeah, fuck that cauldron.
And
No more cooking humans here. That's my new rule.
And
So-
Hao Shang is like, well, he's finally found out the truth. You're gonna have to let him chill for a minute.
Our green spirit has lost another hideout. Another 50 years before he gets another one.
I mean, you saw how pretty that hideout
I know.
was, though. Like, it's gonna take a minute. He's gonna
Time
have
to start
rebuild
over
it.
from scratch.
So now we have a reckoning with Hao Shang and Xi Lian because Hao
Episode
Shang.
100 that they hash out over. It's an interesting conversation about guilt and like, does it matter whether I killed 1 or 100? Like, of course it does, depending on who you ask.
So Hao Shang is like, it is important that he found out, and Xi Lian is like, no, he needed like. Hao Shang is telling him that he needed to know the reasons and like why and the things behind it and like.
Yeah.
And Xi Lian does say, "Am I forgivable if I've killed fewer people?"
Yeah.
It's not forgivable. Wasn't I the one who killed his father, the man who wanted unity?
Yeah.
Didn't I kill An Li, the last branch of my bloodline? He takes all of this, and like Xi Lian really is the master of the bigger picture here.
Yeah.
He thought Lang Quanxi, if he thought that Feng Shen was the one who killed his family in no relation to the kingdom of Shanli, then Feng Shen was the only one who was responsible for it.
Right.
And so that would have protected his people, which is what he is trying to do here.
Yeah.
Xi Lian wanted to limit Quan Chi's vengeance to just one person.
Yeah.
And now instead, everything's fucked up.
Yeah.
Now, you know,
He might go on a rampage. We're not really sure where he's headed. Like,
And-
obviously the ashes first, but after that, who the hell knows?
now An Li is involved, and all of Xian Li is involved.
Yeah.
And isn't hating one person better than hating an entire tribe? Should he, as the crown prince of Yong'an, really be made to hate the people of Shanli? Like, does he really need to think that all of the things I taught him were nothing but empty words?
Yeah. I think that's almost the part that hurts him the most, is like, I tried to give him all this good advice, and now it's all tainted. Because it came from the guy that killed his father, which of course means he's not going to trust it anymore.
Nope. I do think it's kind of ridiculous, though, because when instead the last remnants of the royal family of Shanli were planning to kill the Yong'an royal family,
Yeah.
it's still not the common people's fault, though.
No.
And that's the people who will be punished. It's
No.
not.
Well, that's the people that have to go to war for the kings and
Mhm.
princes and gods. Like,
It's not. It's not the people of Shanli's fault that Shirong and Prince An Li were determined to seek vengeance.
No. In a perfect world, the people who start these conflicts will be the people who fight these conflicts, not like all the innocents that
Mm-hmm.
get drafted just because it's the only way you can afford college. Like, yeah, not fair at all.
And poor Xi Lian apologizes to Song Long after his little outburst
Yeah.
because it
Well,
was just,
Xi Lian is actually on what we were saying. He's getting ready to say the line that I really like. A person's kindness led to bad results. I just don't think that's how things should go. And I'm like, you are an idealist to end all idealist, and I just want to hug you because, like,
yeah, I wrote down.
I wish it worked that way.
I wrote down for that part. Shelian is baby girl and should be protected.
Right?
Like before that,
if the world worked the way it did in your eyes, it'd probably be a better place.
it really would.
Yeah.
How Shang apologizes that he brought Shelian and
he
here.
kind of like took it upon himself to solve his problem. He didn't ask him. He didn't he didn't explain to him his motivations. He's just like, I don't like you're getting blamed for things that aren't your fault. So, and I also don't like this dude's trying to kill you. So I'm gonna fix it. And yeah, I think he should apologize. He was a bit out of line on that.
Well, and
I mean, it all quote unquote worked out, but yeah, that's not the way you go about it.
Well, and I get that he didn't want Shelian to take the blame for it, but he also didn't talk to Shelian about any of
That's
this
what I
before he
mean.
did
Yeah,
it.
yeah. It's something that this podcast is very strong about. Like you nobody asked her is a common refrain, and in this case, nobody asked him.
No,
yeah.
no one did, and someone should have. And I do think that Hao Shang learns this lesson, and going forward, he's like, "You do what you want, and I'll back you up." Like
you just let me know when to step in.
I'll keep you safe, basically. Yeah. So, Hao Shang is like, he's reflecting, and he's like, you killed the king of Yong'an to save the remnants of Shanli. You killed Prince Anli to protect the peace between the two nations. I would have done the same thing. No one could have done it better.
Yeah.
Like, that, and honestly, Shelian deserves to hear that.
Yeah.
Like, he deserves to know that no one could have made a better choice.
Yeah.
Like,
it was a no-win situation.
There was no winning in this.
Yeah, and then this is the line
And this is the line that you like. He's like, Shelian is like, I just don't think it should have gone this way. A person's kindness led to bad results. I just don't think that's how things should go.
Amen, brother.
And yeah, this is where I wrote down that Shelian is baby girl and he deserves to be protected.
Yeah.
Even if it was fake, I wanted Quan Chi to remember that if he was kind to Shanli, Shanli would be kind to him. I wanted him to do the right thing forever without fear.
Yeah.
And that, honest to God, like, Shelian is my maybe third favorite character because I like Shisha Xuan a lot.
Yeah.
But his moral compass is the thing I align with the most because that is also the way that I'm trying to raise my children. Yeah. I want them to do the right thing.
I want them to kill when necessary.
I mean, sometimes murder is right.
Yeah.
Not all murder is equally bad. Anyways.
Oh, yeah, I can't argue that.
But no, it is... Shelian has the most... Like, the strongest moral compass.
Yeah.
Shisha Xuan probably has, like, the second strongest moral compass because, like, he will straight up, the moment Shelian's getting blamed and he notices that something isn't right, he is right there ready to protect and, like... Yeah. And he goes to find Ming Shang with nothing other than he's my friend and I like him. Yeah. That is all the motivation that Shisha Xuan ever needs.
That's all I need, yeah.
And I love those characters.
I'll be honest, friend loyalty is something that I'm always here for in any form of fiction. Also in real life, I'm a fan. But yeah, in fiction, like, that is one of the things that I'm like, you know what? If you're loyal, that goes a long way towards making me like a character.
100%. Yeah. And, like, especially with real life friendships, too. Like, loyalty... Hands down, my favorite thing. I adore that. And Shisha Xuan has that in spades. And Shelian does too, in all honesty. Like, at this point. He goes through a lot to get to this point. But I just... And, yeah, he's good. He's really good. Yes. And he says he didn't want anyone to have to endure the things he had gone through. And he's just having...
Yeah, he's having a moment.
Yeah. The previous generations of rulers of Yong'an were never punished for the horrible things that they did. And yet, Quan Chi's parents, who only wanted to do grand things and great things, met such an end.
Yeah. He's like, that's some old bullshit.
Yeah. But yeah, he's just having a moment. And he's like, he'll never forget the look on his face when I plunged that sword into him.
Yeah. Fair. You shouldn't be allowed to be honest. Like, as much as I feel for you, bro, like, I think if you kill someone, I think that is something that it should never not weigh on you. It should always be a fucking thing.
You should have to carry it. Even if you're right.
You're going to carry that weight.
Even if you're right to do it, it is a thing you should carry.
Absolutely.
So,
it should never become easy.
Sheila was trying to say that everything was great until... ...
Forget it.
Yep. It's not great. It was not great. But...
You know what? Let's blame An Li and Kui Rong and just call it a day.
Chi-Rong was right about one thing. Or, Sheila says Chi-Rong was right about one thing. I am a failure.
No.
And Hao Shang is like...
Yeah. Don't listen to that guy.
You believe that, scum?
He's a loser.
800 years, and he still couldn't become a supreme. And I wrote down here, how no one throws shade like Hao Shang.
No.
Like, he didn't do anything. He's quick and resilient. That's the only thing he's got going for him.
Yeah, if he didn't have that, he'd have nothing.
So
we have this stone statue that the Green Ghost was using as a footrest,
mm-hmm.
which again, I'll give props where it's due. That's a G move.
Because the stone statue
is dun.
Shilian. It is
dun.
Shilian as the. So when he was first ascended as a god, he was 17 years old, and all of his statues were
too young for godhood. I'll say it.
You know what?
He's a little young for that kind of power.
All of his statues, though, were these big, beautiful things. Like, there was one in the capital of Shanli that is just this giant statue. It's huge.
Yeah.
And they were all regal and showed him as really pretty and, like, you know, strong and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And then when the kingdom of Shanli fell, the statues turned into... Because he became a god of misfortune.
Yeah.
They turned into ones where he's kneeling and like prostrating himself on the ground and stuff.
Yeah.
And a lot of them, there was in the books, it's established that a lot of people had these statues to kind of like step on him before they entered a house.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah. It was real messed up. He went from like top of the world and statues as tall as palaces to...
To this fucking guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Morning Star no more. So.
Yeah. Yeah. So he takes the statue that that Shirong was propping his feet up on like a bitch. Breaks it.
Yeah.
And then
last episode 101.
Well, he tells Hao Shang that he wants to go get the people.
Yeah.
Oh, this is 101. You're right.
Yeah.
He tells Hao Shang he wants to go get the people out of the cave.
Let's rescue these folks.
They're still running around here.
Yeah, I told them to stay put. They didn't, so I need to go let them out. They in cages and stuff.
And while they're walking around helping the people get together and taking all the people out of the cages.
Still chatting.
They are still talking, and he asks Hao Shang, how is it that you knew I didn't do it? Like, how did you know Shirong was behind it?
Yeah, you brought us here to Chiron's Green Kingdom, like, because you knew all of this. It was going to play out similar, maybe not exactly this way, but close to this way.
Yeah. So he's like, back then, Shirong didn't know that I was the Grand Tutor, and...
He just found out. We saw him flipping out about it.
Yeah. And while I did discover that the Shanli royal family was conspiring, I didn't know that he was the one pulling the strings.
Yeah.
So... Both of them were blind to the other one's interaction. So you're wrong. He didn't find out from...
Oh, yeah, that's true.
He did find out Prince An Li was behind it, but he didn't know that Shirong was behind it until just now. So he asks Hao Shang how long has he known. And Hao Shang's like, I didn't know for that long. He's dealt... Like, he has a past with Shirong, obviously. He didn't destroy his cave without knowing something.
Yeah, that wasn't just a passing fad. So, it basically comes down to just like, I trust your face. I like you. And so I assumed you were telling me that, that you were... Here's
something. So he says to Sheila, and he's like, when he was a civilian of Shanli, when he was alive.
Yeah.
And he hates the Yungan people. Like, he has never been a fan. And so, during the Age of Yungan, many of the large internal assassinations of their royals and nobles were organized by him. So, Shirong already has a past and a habit of murdering the Yungan royal family.
Yeah.
But he's also hidden it very well. Like, he's... For all the other shit, he is a clever...
Yeah, that's why I was saying he is simultaneously very dumb about certain things, but really good at scheming. Man's got a schemey. Yeah. Never got his hands bloody in a way where you could pin things on him.
Nope. So, like, a massacre like the one at the Gilded Banquet is definitely something he would have done.
Definitely his style.
So, he believed Hao Sheng thought for a long time that the tutor was working for Shirong. Like, that was those two. But then when he found out that Shilian was the one being accused of being the tutor, he's like, there's no way that you and Shirong were on the same side.
Yeah, because I don't like Shirong. I like you. No way you guys would hang out.
So, did
he know they were cousins at this point?
How much do you want me to give away?
Oh, if it gives something away, don't worry about it. I'm just very curious because it's like, I can't believe you guys. There's no way you guys would work together. And I'd be like, well, if you knew they were cousins, it seems likely that they might. If we've learned nothing else from Heaven Officials' blessings, that these family bonds can be tight in this world.
I will say
in some
nothing.
cases. Fair enough.
All right. So Shilian is like, how did Songlong know any of this was happening? Because he isn't in heaven and he's not supposed to be able to get anything out of heaven.
I assume he's just OP. It's just part of him being OP, but probably not. There's probably something behind it.
And then he realizes that Hao Sheng even knows the history between him and Shirong.
Yeah, I missed 3.
So yeah, there's no establishment of how he knows this stuff.
Yeah, until he said that, I thought nothing of it. Because again, I was like, he's OP. He knows everything, and he's good at everything, and he's unstoppable, so OP. But then, when our main character brings it up, I'm like, oh, I should pay attention to this. There is something behind this. This is not just him being OP. Like, he knows somehow.
Outside of knowing that Shirong was behind it, Hao Sheng wasn't sure of anything else.
Yeah.
The common remnants of Shanli were treated well after Long Quanxi's father took over, and so there wasn't anything that the common people were apt to do to the Yong'an family because they were being treated well. And since Prince Anli was the only one left of the royal bloodline, if Shirong wanted someone to make trouble, it would have had to have been him. Yet by simple coincidence, he was reported to have died of illness after the Gilded Banquet, despite having no history of illness in the past. Isn't that very suspicious? Very obviously suspicious.
Now that you bring it up, yeah. A little suspicious.
But, so Hao Sheng is basically just laying out that, like,
yeah.
He
put the clues together.
Hao Sheng is smart.
Yeah.
And if the royal family of Yong'an were to blame, the people of Shanli would have been implicated, and yet they weren't. So he came to the conclusion that he had today, that Shirong was behind it, probably had something to do with Prince Anli, and Feng Shen didn't know about it.
Yeah.
Because if Feng Shen is Shilian, then Shilian wouldn't have done it. It's impressive that you were able to deduce everything so accurately. There are so many moving parts. And still, there's a premise to your deductions I don't quite understand. I just knew a lot of the key players, that's all.
Yeah. No. Again, when you're 800 years old, you
know some people.
Yeah.
And so Shilian asks, why were you so sure that Shirong was the one who made the first move at the Gilded Banquet? And Hao Sheng says that it's not that I was certain of his deeds. I just trusted that you didn't. So basically, Hao Sheng's logic boils down to...
Again, I like you, so I don't think you did this bad thing.
I knew you who you are, and I knew you wouldn't do that. So, here's what it boils down to for Hao Sheng.
Yeah.
It says, if you had given a different reason while admitting to the Gilded Banquet massacre, then there was a possibility that you could have. However, the king of Yong'an was a good leader and won the hearts of his people. Yet Long Quanxi said that the reason you gave for the massacre was that you couldn't stand seeing him on the throne.
Yeah.
While those are very standard words for a usurper coming from you, they could have only been they could only be a self-defilement of the clumsiest degree.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a bad cover story, knowing the kind of person you are and that you put the happiness of the people above your own happiness. Having someone on the throne that is putting the happiness of the people above the throne, you would be all about that. There's no world in which you would try and kill that person.
It does not match your character.
Yeah.
To kill a person who is helping the common people.
Yeah.
So, Shilian is like, you shouldn't put that much faith in people.
You're kind of putting me on a pedestal here. And I'm a god, so you'd think I'd be used to it, but I'm not, and it feels weird.
Yeah. I think...
From you, especially.
I think you shouldn't put so much faith in another.
Yeah.
You shouldn't think of other people as being too perfect. It would be okay if it were someone you never meet in real life and only saw from a distance.
Yeah.
But, like, what happens if someone that you are close with, you find out that they are the opposite of how you think?
Yeah.
Basically,
Don't put me on a pedestal, brah.
Shelian doesn't want to be a disappointment.
Yeah.
That is what this boils down to. Is Shelian is like, if you put me too high, then when I don't hit the mark, you're going to be disappointed in me. Yeah. And that feels like the thing
That's
he
a lot
doesn't...
of pressure on me.
Yeah. And Hao Shang is like, don't be so sure. I don't care about the disappointment of others. To some people, the very existence of a person on this earth is hope in and of itself.
Yeah. It's a good last line.
It really is.
And a good way to end. And a good way to end Heaven Official's blessing with these two just being like, I'm just glad you're alive. Well, I'm glad you're alive.
The very existence of a person is hope in and of itself.
And you're the person. I don't know if I'm being clear, but you're the person.
He's not being clear enough because Shelian still takes a long amount of time.
Oh, Shelian. Join the crowd and fucking, like, semantic error given, like, fucking figure it out, bro. Figure it out.
So, since I don't know if we'll ever actually get to the, like, I don't know if the manga will ever actually continue, and if it does, I don't know if it will continue in English in a way that we're actually able to read it.
Fair.
I am going to go ahead and tell you that there's a scene.
Yeah.
Where Hao Shang is back in Puki Shrine with Shelian, and he's helping, like, dig fields and just helping around town.
Doing some farm work.
Yeah, just being an all-around, just a cool person hanging out with Shelian like he wants. That's his whole desire.
Yeah.
So he's doing all of that, and then Hao Shang, the people of the town are like, he's so pretty. Like, do you have a person?
Yeah.
A love. And Hao Shang is like, yeah, there's a person I like. There's a person I want to be with. I have a beloved. And the people of the town are like, aw, can you tell us about this person?
No.
And he talks about how he's in love with them and he's trying to woo them. And Shelian gets upset that, like, how can someone not see how cool and wonderful and awesome Hao Shang is? How dare this person not already understand?
No.
And
you just want to jump in the fucking right onto that farm field and shake the fuck out of it.
And Hao Shang is talking about
Yes, of course
Shelian.
he is. Of course he is.
But this boy is, like, dense as fuck.
Yes, because
It's
God
beautiful.
forbid two people just figure their shit out.
It's beautiful. I love it so much. Shelian gets so jealous.
Yeah.
For no reason, because the only person Hao Shang wants is Shelian.
The only one I want is you.
He's 800 years old, and he has never made a move on a person because he's been waiting for Shelian.
Waiting for his whole life.
His whole life, his whole death, all of his existence.
Yes.
I love that so much. It's so good. Ah.
And thus ends Heaven Official's blessing, at least as far as we are currently able to go.
Yep.
We may revisit this in the future depending on availability and other such things.
I need it in English. I can deal with a lot of things. I'm more than willing to deal with a lot of ways to receive material, but it does need to be in English. I have to.
That's fair. We are cursed by our non-bilingualness.
Here's the thing. I would have to be able to read so many languages if that were... I'd need to be able to read Korean. I'd need to be able to read Chinese. I'd need to be able to read Japanese.
The whole world would be open to me if that would be such a cool superpower, to be able to speak and read any language and write any language, like just out of the blue, like one of those universal translators like they have on Star Trek. That's the fucking dream. But until then, we have certain limitations on this podcast.
All right.
Big question.
I had trouble coming up with a big question, and until just this moment, I didn't have one. But
wow, convenient.
Yeah. Well, it has something to do with what you said. You said you really liked Chirong's little castle palace thing.
Yeah. Describe
your evil palace.
Oh, my evil palace. Well, I'll have you know, it's super evil.
Is it named something like the Mountain of Doom?
No, too on the nose, right?
I thought so. That has always been a disappointment.
Yeah, there in a game that I just finished with not too long ago called Baldur's Gate 3.
You finished that?
Yeah, I did. I'm getting ready to start a second playthrough as soon as I finish a couple other games I'm also playing. I keep busy. But you go to a place in like the Nine Hells, and it's called like the House of Last Hope, I think is the name of it. And like I want an ironically named castle like that. Like,
that's nice.
Yeah, like the Palace of Last Hope. That's a great name. Like I don't want to steal that one, but I want something like that.
Something adjacent.
Yeah, something adjacent. I don't want it to be too on the nose, Mount Doom or the Pit of No Return or whatever. Yeah.
Hall of Injustice.
Yeah, and I will tell you this because I always, with excess wealth, the one thing that always sticks out to me, and I think it's because when I was a kid I always wanted a pool, but water features. Like that is just a sign. Okay. Like fountains are just a sign of like ridiculous opulent wealth to me. Like you have a water feature. I'm like, oh my god, this fucking guy. So my palace is going to be full of water features. Okay. And definitely, I'm gonna have like a little river.
One of those little cherubs that pees.
Oh, absolutely. You're gonna have a little river that flows by my bed and. And at 2 a.m, I'm going to miss the little bridge and step into it when I'm going to the bathroom. I'm going to be like, why did I install this thing?
It can't be a very deep river unless you're ready to go for a swim.
Yeah, it's going to be a creek. It's going to be a little creek that I have to cross to get to the restrooms.
Oh, jeez.
But it'll also keep vampires away because they can't cross running water. Depending on your origin. Sometimes they can. Yeah.
They have to be invited in to start with, so just
also true. But I feel like I would invite a vampire.
You would.
If she was hot, I'd be like, come on in.
Yeah.
Come on in, baby, take shoes off. Come on in. Baby, tell me what's wrong.
Your palace would be very infested with things that you let in on occasion.
That would be I would have an entire...
You are your own worst security problem.
My own worst enemy. I would have an entire wing of the palace that's just for, like, house guests that I want around, but also need to keep at a distance. Like, that's something
you need to have, like, a little tiny separate house off to the side so that the people that you invite into the main house, you still would have a protection.
Yes. Yeah. And the only other thing that I can think of off the top of my head that I want is a library reveal.
Oh,
where I've got a very small little, like, a little study. Like, just a little desk and maybe, like, 2 or 4 bookshelves on each side. And, like, I sit there and that's where I do my work and podcasting, I guess, if I'm that kind of god. But then I can hit a button and, like, the back wall opens up to a huge library with a big, like, 2-story tall window and the rolling, like, ladders and, like, the little balcony floors.
I was sitting over here thinking about it.
So you've got this cute little study, and then I'm like, oh, we're gonna have to look this one up in the Forbidden Lore section. And I hit a low button and like the whole wall falls back, and then I have my cool Beauty and the Beast library back.
See, I'd have a Beauty and the Beast library too.
Yeah.
I was sitting over here thinking about it, and I'm like, because again, the question just came to me. I haven't had any time to consider it, so I'm like, I need a library. That's the first thing. Is like I would have like the giant ass libraries, like the library porn type libraries that you see on Facebook, where it's just
like half my Instagram follows are just like weird libraries.
7 stories of books and like encased in glass, and like you'd have to have like probably special permission to get to each section or something.
Yeah, like each section is more forbidden than the last.
Yes,
you have to have different like levels of clearance.
But that's the first thing. The first thing I would have would be giant ass library.
Oh yeah, of course. But I've also realized that like for actual like work and concentration, I can't have like a huge fucking room.
Yeah.
I need a smaller room like the one we are recording in. So that's why I want a little study that leads into a huge
that makes
room.
Sense.
Yeah.
I, on the other hand,
also for the reveal factor.
You can't not have a reveal factor.
Yeah, you gotta have a reveal factor. Your library's gotta have a secret entrance or something.
Well, see, I would totally. So the way I would do my evil palace is it would be like the outside would be innocuous, so it'd be like it would look like a cave, like there'd be like a cave entrance, so like most people would just walk by it and no one would be the wiser, like that's and then like if you entered the cave after a little bit of a winding path and probably some branches off and some tricky like
of course
things for people to get lost and stuck in.
Can't have it too easy to get to. Yeah.
You'd end up in like a that would be the little section where you'd find like a little work area and little, because you're right. If I had the ability to stare off into everything, I would never get started on anything. Yeah, which is fair. So yeah, you'd find the little work section, and that would be like the tiny little piece of like. But then you could go like down a secret door or something that you'd have to like know the combo to get into, and that's where you'd go to like the big.
Get through a labyrinth, solve a couple riddles. You know, the usual.
The usual. Because if I'm gonna have an evil palace, one, I don't like people visiting me now. If I can make it damn near impossible.
That's a good point. I think I also need mine to be flying.
Flying?
Yeah, that's how
I'm going underground.
Give me a flying palace. Yeah, and well, that way I can like. You know, if
like Howl's Moving Castle.
If I want to go to Paris for lunch, I can just fly over and then just go beam down or whatever. And, go to the bistro and then beam back up and go back to my library.
I'd go underground, and if the harder it is to find me, the happier I would be.
Yeah. I want people to be able to see me, but not be able to get to me. That is a difference between us. Yeah. I also don't want people to get to me, but I want them to be jealous. So they gotta see the place.
Yeah, I'm good. You know, I think this would be the thing that would make me a good serial killer. Mm-hmm. I am fine with no one knowing.
Oh.
I don't need anyone to be aware of anything I do.
I need to feed on the haters.
If I could be invisible, that would be great. Because I am satisfied knowing that I did it. I don't need anyone else to know that I did it.
Well, got some good news. You're a female person of color. According to our government, you are.
Yeah.
You are invisible. Congrats! You're halfway there.
The thing is, they would still totally get me for crimes if they could.
Yeah. Oh, fuck. Yeah. Yeah. They love getting people for crimes. Yeah. What's up with that?
It's rude. But no, it would definitely be like underground cave type thing, and then it would lead into like. No. Progressively
a nice joint.
Huge. The library.
Yeah.
The library.
I will say though, much like a heaven official's blessing, it would definitely have a lot of Asian architecture. Like it would definitely be the Japanese, Chinese palace look. Like because that's a great look.
I would go neo-Gothic.
Oh my gosh.
I love.
Give
me a gargoyle.
Oh man, give me some cherry blossoms that are hanging over the river and gently like flowing into leaves, and those bridges with the
indigenous. Now
indigenous is good too.
Indigenous stuff I could totally do. Give me some Mayan, some Aztec, like.
I would do that, but like, I would have maybe a nice cave with like some wall art, but then like. That looks really banging under a black light.
Ooh.
Yeah, like combination. You know, we combine the old with the new. You know,
steampunk.
Mix it all up.
Steampunk.
Gotta have some steampunk in there, yeah.
So that if we can merge,
maybe that'll be the gears that keep me in the sky. A little steampunk thing.
If I could merge, like an Aztec Mayan steampunk fusion.
Yeah.
That would be.
It's gonna take a while.
We'll
have to start working on it now.
Maybe
go ahead and start designing.
I'll start digging a hole in the backyard. We'll see what we can do.
I'll start building. I'll buy a drone and then I'll just start putting things on it. Just making the motor bigger, putting it's okay. I got an outhouse built on it. We've begun. So we've begun. Well, that was great. That was great, Cecilia. In 2 weeks, I hope it will be great again, because we are going to discuss Final Fantasy Lost Strangers Volume 1.
All right.
Man, let me tell you, Japanese anime and manga as well as American to a certain extent, but Japan's really known for this. They do the story where someone gets trapped in a fictional world. You've got Hack. Yeah, you've got Hack. You've got Sword Art Online. You've got a lot of these.
Transmigration.
This one.
Scum Villain is a isekai.
Okay. This one is Final Fantasy. So it is based on one of my favorite worlds from one of my favorite video games. I like the art style. There's an amazing full-page spread of a dragon in there that I'm super psyched for you to see. But that's what we're going to do next time. Final Fantasy Lost Stranger, Volume 1. Come back in 2 weeks and join us, won't you? Until then, we've got all the socials. Please look in the show notes. There are links to Patreon, all of the socials, and ways to follow us and hang out and yell at us about things we aren't covering and suggesting things that we should cover.
You can even
amongst
pay
other
us to
things.
cover stuff if there's something in
That is
particular
true.
you want.
If you got particularly deep pockets and particularly like what you're hearing, you can pick our next project. But whether you do or not, we really are glad to have your ears, and hopefully we'll have them again in 2 weeks. Till then,
Be your own ally.
be your own ally.
And goodbye.